This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting held at 870 Colfax here in Benton Harbor. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the noted link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to natalie.singer@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comments as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to natalie.singer@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:10 p.m. We'll begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson.
Present.
Vice President Bowens.
Present.
Secretary Triplett, present. Treasurer Bradley.
Present.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Present.
Trustee Gavin.
Present.
Trustee Doyle.
Present.
Madam President, a quorum has been established.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda. The agenda is being presented as noted. I do want to let you all know that the Director of Human Resources has requested that we actually take a vote on his reports regarding separation of employment, staff report H1, new hire staff report H2, new hires for third parties, which is staff report H3. I did consult with the chair of the Human Resources Committee, Vice President Bowens, and he was in approval of us allowing these items to be action items this evening. So at this particular time, I'll ask, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda, please.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Can you give some clarification on what you just stated as it relates to the requests from the Human Resource Department?
So there are 3 particular staff reports as noted, staff report H1, H2, and H3. Each of those, as it being our work session, would standard be for discussion. However, Director McDermott has indicated that there are some start dates specifically for the new hires that are quick approaching, as well as, I believe, a retirement. He indicated that he felt it would be best that we actually take action on this evening. And I'll defer to Director McDermott if anything additional needs to be provided.
To clarify, President Robinson, resignation, and then for the 2 reports, H2 and H3, a hire for direct hire for Benton Harbor Schools, and then our third-party hire for River of Life.
I guess I just don't understand the urgency with this being a work session. And so we have our business meeting. We need to, this need to be presented to us to let us know what's happening so that we'll have an opportunity to at least look at it and address it. So I don't see the urgency of it unless something has to happen tomorrow.
So to interject, one of the hires is being reflected as March 26th, which is tomorrow.
Okay, so we could do that one, but the other ones we need to see and reflect if that's okay.
All right, any other comments from the board? Vice President Bowens, did you want to add anything as the chair of HR as to why you approved that being noted for a vote?
With the sense of urgency, making sure we have the people in seats and reflective of the resignation dates, I wanted it to go ahead and vote on that. However, if my fellow committee member wants to withhold that, we can.
Any other comments from the board?
President Robinson, I just ask if my colleagues can speak up a little bit down here by maybe a fan, and I'm not able to hear as well.
Okay, so I apologize. So, for example, when you look at the separation, one of them were effective on 3/14. The new hire is effective on 3/26, which is tomorrow. So I wanted us to make sure we were, when they reached out to me, just getting this done. However, if my fellow chairman wants to wait, we can. However, I guess my question is to the chair. Could they still start with the district, or we would be with that vacancy?
I'm good. Uh, Chairman Bowens,
Okay,
I'm good.
All right, if there's no other questions, as stated, the agenda is being presented as noted with the full understanding that your vote is approving us taking a vote for staff report H1, H2, and H3 tonight. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
yes.
Secretary Triplett. Yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
Up next, we have review of board norms, the Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Next on the agenda, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone present that would like to make a comment on an agenda item? All right, hearing none, okay. So I'll read the public comment statement while you come. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak: public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaw 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings. We request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had the opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to natalie.singer@bhas.org. You have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam President, Ms. Superintendent, and board members. I believe so many are here today because there is a rumor that's going around the city that's saying that we're more concerned about the direction our board is going and our leadership, especially as it pertains to the superintendent. We believe that the superintendent and stability is key. Not only qualification, but stability. We would like to make sure that it is understood that we support Superintendent Butts going forward. We want the board to know that going forward, we want to make sure that you all know that we support his effort and your effort working in collaboration with him to move our district forward. I am a military retiree, and one of the things that we learned in the military is everyone has to move in the same direction at the same beat on the same march cadence, with one leader providing the instructions. What we're asking for is that this leader, Dr. Butts, who we believe is qualified and provides the stability that we need, We're asking that he remain as our superintendent going forward until the next contract is due. We would like him to remain as our superintendent for this next period and maybe going forward past that. But we would like to see stability in the district. So please renew. We're asking that that contract be renewed for 2025 and 26. My name is Kenneth Robinson. I pastor Second Baptist Church.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment on agenda items? All right, hearing none, we will. You have the floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gwen Johnson. And I would just like to say, with all due respect, Pastor, I disagree with how the superintendent has demonstrated his performance with the school district. It's been a lot of lies that I've seen. It's been a lot of misinformation. It's detrimental to our children. And the things that he's done in the past with you all know about it now, but when it was happening, it was like you all didn't know that he had done some things with some teachers and given them notices that they shouldn't come back or they couldn't come back or whatever that was. Why wasn't he reprimanded? He should have been reprimanded for the things that you all said that you all didn't know that he did, but he did it behind your backs. What type of superintendent is that? And then he also just last week didn't allow our children to go to the robotics competition. It's been a lot of things going on. A lot of chaos has been caused by the superintendent. And you all need to really assess this. And I believe you already know what should happen as far as moving our children forward in a successful way. He doesn't have a plan to recruit our kids. He's closing stuff, playing musical chairs. It just doesn't make sense. So I wish you all will do the right thing and I'm asking not to renew his contract. I really am. And it's a number of others too think that his contract should not be renewed. So please do the right thing for our children, because our children are suffering at this man's hands.
Anyone else for public comment on agenda items?
Let me say good afternoon to each and every one of you and thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity. I'm here tonight because some years ago, when Gretchen Whitmer came to the Pilgrim Rest Church and declared her undying support for this district and then turned around to close it, it was very few people in this room that met her face to face outside of Pastor Rich and myself and told her it wasn't gonna happen. So I came here tonight because I've been fighting for the last 3 or 4 years to make sure when y'all sit, we still got these seats. I disagree wholeheartedly. Number one, you don't have to recruit when you got things in order. It's not his job to recruit, not when you got violence breaking out in the schools. That's your biggest recruitment. When I talk to parents, it ain't about him. It's about what goes on in these classrooms. Bottom line, we got to stop playing games with people's lives. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not going to take a long time. It's a problem with any district that got 7 superintendents in about 15 years.
Anyone else for public comment on agenda items?
Every time you look around.
Can you come closer to the mic?
Every time you look around, we need a new superintendent. It's time to stop. Let this man stay here, do his job. Seem like everything going fine with me. Y'all want to get rid of this man for what? Get rid of those kids that's coming up here causing all this chaos. Y'all don't call no big meeting when all that's happening. But y'all want to call a big meeting on this man. I don't see nothing he doing wrong. Trying to help the district. Y'all gonna keep, every time you get rid of someone, he's still gonna get paid. I'm going.
All right, can you please ensure we have your name to note for the record?
The formality is so off. My name is Tiana Batiste Waddell.
You have the floor.
I apologize, Madam President. Tiana Batiste Waddell, 330 Colfax Avenue, South Bend, Indiana. I'm so glad to see the community this evening. It would be nice if pastors could come out more so that they can read all the data.
Okay, so we're gonna.
Yeah, please don't. I didn't disrespect you. I didn't disrespect you. I didn't disrespect you. I didn't disrespect you.
Can we please?
I did not disrespect you. I did not disrespect you. I have freedom of speech.
Please have a seat.
I have freedom of speech. And I didn't disrespect you. So let it down.
So you all are disrespecting the Board of Education in the district of this business. So I don't want to ask you all to step out. Mr. Magruder?
That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful.
Sergeant at arms.
Turn around and do that.
He interrupted me. He interrupted me.
So there's one important factor that was overlooked, and so the most important thing that's noted on that document is for you all to address the board and not the public. I would also ask that the public not respond during another person's comment section, so that you all are seeing that there are two wrongs that are contributed to this that has occurred. So we do value everyone's voice, but what I cannot have is for my board meeting to break out and be chaotic and turn into a circus or a reality TV show. We can't do business in that manner.
Right.
So I know it's a heated topic. I know that there are things that have been portrayed in the community, the rumors that have circulated. I'm asking that you all please just conduct yourself in a professional manner and respect the business at hand, please. Okay. You may continue, Ms. Waddell.
Thank you so much, President Robinson. I do apologize. Thank you so much for getting us in order. As I was trying to say, I hope my time started over. I don't know where I'm at. But I do appreciate seeing a community. However, we need you to be here more because the data speaks volumes under this leadership. I am not a disgruntled employee, but instead an educational activist advocate that understands how this works. I have two businesses in education. I am not an employee that's disgruntled. Dr. BHAS does not exhibit morality. And if you care about the integrity of the community like I do, you need to make a decision. Assess your own morals. Because the kids are dying in the streets because our schools are failing. And yes, this district has had several leaders over the years, over and over and over and over and over. But Daniel, you got to get it right because this ain't the one. It's time to start over again. Thank you.
Okay, so I am going to read the public comment statement one more time. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak. Public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools bylaws 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes, a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had the opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to natalie.singer@bhas.org. Is there anyone else that is present for a public comment on agenda items? You have the floor.
First of all, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Reverend Lawrence Brooks. I represent New Covenant Community Baptist Church, 841 East Main Street. I am a former employee of this district. In nearly 3 years of employment, I witnessed 3 different people sitting in that seat. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, without vision, the people perish. That's the problem with this district. There is no vision. That has to do with vision, and you have to have a leader to carry out the vision. And sometimes you have to allow the man that you chose to be the leader to do the job that you brought him in to do.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present for public comment on agenda items? You have the floor.
Heather Mueller. I've worked in this district for 13 years and these last few years have been the most difficult. We have had a lot of changes and
If I can have you speak up a
oh,
bit.
sorry. And the last board meeting we had, there were students that got up to speak and it was very difficult for them to speak. So I know that there's a lot of students that have left this district that have not spoken, but their leaving should speak volumes to you. This is the lowest enrollment that we have ever had. We've lost seasoned staff members, we've lost students, we've lost families. It's not getting any better. And at some point you have to cut your losses and say, this is not working. It's not working. We've had, we have resilient teachers and we've fought to stay in this district over and over again. We're on the ground level with these students, and I can tell you this is not working. It's just not. I know it's up to you guys to make this decision, but you're not privy to all of the things that we see on the ground level. And no disrespect to anybody else, but unless you're in this district working with these kids, you don't know. And all the cuts that are planning on being made, I think it's just premature because they've said they're not cutting the Title I funds, our 31A funds. Those are not being cut. Those are for the at-risk students. So I'm trying to understand, why are we cutting all the staff when we're still going to be receiving these funds? So if anyone could answer that for me, that would be great. But that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that's present for a public comment on agenda items?
My name is Brenda Matthews. I'm the registrar for Benton Harbor Area Schools and the pupil accountant. As far as being privy to information, families, students disenrolling, withdrawing, I'm privy to that information. I'm the first person they meet when they come in. I'm the last person they talk to when they leave. It has nothing to do with the superintendent. It has nothing to do with the board. Demographics have changed. Families aren't having 6 and 7 children anymore. We have parents, I always request from every parent, when you're leaving this district, you can't just call me and tell me you're leaving. No, I need you to come in because I need to know why you want to leave our district. They're relocating out of state. Even the charters take our students up until they have all the funds. Then I'm enrolling every day. I have my supervisor here that can tell you I've enrolled 33 kids since February 12th, count day. That count day, we don't get any funds for those children, but nobody puts out. When you take your child out and you send them to charter, they keep the money until February. Then we get all of their problems back. As far as what the board does, what the district does, I tell every parent, anybody that has anything negative to say about our district, we get what you raise at home. What comes here is what you raise at home. You can't talk about academics. You can't talk about the board. You can't talk about the superintendent. It's the parents. What you see here is what we get in every one of our buildings. And let me calm down because I'm a little upset because there are a lot of people speaking on what they don't know. I make sure I don't care if you're first enrolling, you're returning to our district. I make sure I speak with every single parent that comes into this district. Why are you coming here? Why are you leaving? Everything that's said has nothing to do with the students leaving. The fights, that's at home. The fights that come in these buildings, they start on Facebook, out in the community, and they bring it here because they know there's someone here that will break up the fights. Nobody here is to blame. It's the parents. It's what they bring from their homes, what they raise in their homes. That's what we deal with here. And I'm a little upset. As far as cutting funds, we don't have the students. They cycle through the entire ISD serviceable area. They go to this district, that district, and every excuse. They didn't like my child. They did this to my child. You don't want to, the parents don't want to take the blame. It's what you raised at home is what we're getting here. All this fighting that we're doing has nothing to do with us. It's what they're raising at home and sending here. Unfortunately,
Ms. Matthews, please wrap up your comment.
unfortunately, we have students here that really want to learn. Over 98% of them want to learn. It's that 2% that causes the problem and causes all this. We need to focus on the right thing. We need to get these parents involved. Then we won't have we wouldn't even need a superintendent if we got the parents involved. Brenda Matthews, I'm registrar. But I'm a little upset.
Thank you, Ms. Matthews. Is there anyone else present for public comment on agenda items?
My name is Ashley Williams, and please bear with me because I didn't plan on coming in here to speak. And so I looked at the agenda and I'm like, there's nothing I want to comment on as far as the agenda, but there's the superintendent, the strategic plan and everything that we have. And
I can have you speak a little bit longer.
people are expressing concerns about the superintendent. So I'm going to speak on the superintendent personally. I love Dr. Butts as our superintendent. And that's as a staff member. I have been employed in the district since 2018. I've seen 3 superintendents, 1 interim superintendent. And so what we need is stability. We need consistency to support the academic interventions and ELA programs and math programs that we are implementing and that we have to implement with fidelity. We cannot do that without consistency. So we find ourselves needing a new superintendent that needs to learn what type of improvements we need to make academically, that needs to figure out what needs to happen at these district leadership team meetings that we are all not privy to. So I feel like Dr. Butts, not that I feel like, I wish I had some data to support what I'm saying. We are growing as a district in our literacy programs at MLK. Without his leadership and his support and backing us in some of these meetings that he has to sit through with the state and the TA center to support our efforts, we would not be as far as we are. And so I'm saying as an employee, we need Dr. Butts. I come into the building and I feel secure in my job as an academic interventionist or a teacher, wherever I'm placed, because I'm doing what I need to do and he's there to support us. He has concerns about how the staff is feeling. He's going to have Q&As with us to figure out what he can do to make our conditions better as support staff for our students. And so I don't want to say a lot. I don't want to have a lot of feelings in this. So I want to redirect what I want to say. The school district is not failing because of the superintendent. The school district is not failing because of our teachers. The school district is failing because our kids have an academic achievement gap. I spoke about this when Whitmer was trying to come and propose the high school be cut. Our kids come to school with a deficit because they have language barriers. They have literacy barriers where they're coming, they can't write their names all the time. They don't know all the sounds that they need to know. They don't know how to continuous blend to actually say words. So we're behind the 8 ball. So when they come into our doorstep in kindergarten, 1st grade, sometimes 2nd grade, 3rd grade, they do not have the skills that they need to be a student at that grade level. And so we are fighting an achievement gap. And so when we are all on one accord and we're all doing the things that are necessary to build our kids' skills up, and right now we're doing that at MLK, at least I know for sure. And so I know my time is up and I know I wasn't very cohesive with what I want to say, but Dr. Butts is supporting our academic intervention and ELA initiatives to get our kids to where they need to be. And we can't disrupt that.
Thank you. Any more public comments on agenda items? You have the floor.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all. I think it was the meeting before last, I had a comment that I submitted and I actually got that question answered. So thank you for that answer. But just like everybody else in this building tonight, I wanted to express my concern as it relates to the superintendent role. We have had a lot of superintendents come through this district. We currently have disgruntled employees who have a voice in our system that should not. You don't even live in our community, but has something to say about our educational system. Stay away from here. We need unity as it relates to our district. We need people here who love our kids, who want to support what we're doing. Disgruntled, angry, upset people do not belong here. Dividing our community, and again, somebody's talking while I'm talking. There was a code of ethics that you talked about. Could you please speak to that? Because I hear voices as I'm talking. I was very quiet.
So if we could just
Thank
a
you.
reminder for everyone to please cease while someone has the mic, I would greatly appreciate it.
And I'll regain my time. And so when disgruntled people coming in here, having words to say that are loud and expressive, when they were in roles, they were bullying, they were angry, they were having meetings with people, they were threatening employees and all kinds of things. But they come into our meeting talking about what we need to do to replace who, replace what. Every time we replace somebody in that role, our teachers have to start over again. They come in, they offer a new curriculum. The teachers have to learn it. Then they have to learn how to teach it to the students. It is a continuous process that we need to stop and create some stability at the top. You may not love everything that the superintendent has done or is doing, but we need to give people time to grow in roles. You need more than 2 years to grow in a role when you were put in an interim position. And I think this board needs to give an opportunity to the superintendent to actually grow in that role and to stay in that role. Many of you are not in education and don't necessarily see what happens on the ground level, but I would encourage each of you to go into the buildings and talk to the teachers. And like Ms. Ashley said, when you have a superintendent that is willing to dialogue and not dictate, as we've had people dictating information and forcing things on teachers, it's a difference. Having a conversation with them while they're teaching and what's happening in those buildings is important. Get into the buildings to see what's happening with our teaching and with our staff. That's important. We don't need to start over again because at the end, it hurts our students. At the end of the day, our students suffer every time we start over. At MLK, there is a room chock full of curriculum that was purchased by one of the superintendents that was in the building. Thousands of dollars spent on curriculum because every time somebody new comes in, we have to start over. We don't need disgruntled people here. They were terrible when they were here, but they disgruntled and they coming back having something to say. No, enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else present for a public comment on agenda items? All right, you have the floor. And Mr. Magruder, I would ask that you not leave that corner. I needed you about 5 minutes ago, my brother. You have the floor.
My name is Ms. Shannon Rockett. I live at 1861 West Ogden, Benton Harbor, Michigan. I am a current employee of Benton Harbor Area Schools. And my comment is to address the superintendency role and specifically stating, I'm not talking about persons. I'm speaking about the role of leadership and how it is important for any organization to be successful, any organization to be stable and thrive, not just survive, but thrive. There must be a stable consistent leadership at the head. And if you even think about it, your head can dictate so many things with your body. The signals that we receive, they can make us go any way we want to. And it's, again, important. I've been a Benton Harbor Area School student, alumni, volunteer, teacher. I've worked in pretty much K through 12, even at the central administration level. And one thing that I have noticed in my tenure here at Benton Harbor Area Schools is that with every change, there has been a instability that has come into the area. There has been instability that has made a shockwave, and the ones who suffer the most are our students. Every time we change at the head, those of us who are in the trenches, we feel it the most. And again, to support comments that were made by other individuals, we do get students who come all year round, and a lot of them come after count day. I even have students who have come right before count day, like a day or two, and they've missed most of the school year before first grade. They've missed most of their foundational skill time. So a lot of the efforts that we are dealing with, again, another individual brought it up, we are dealing with an achievement gap that is brought to us. And we as a whole must do what we can to provide a stable, consistent environment for our students so that we can give them the head start as much as possible that they are missing when they come into our buildings. Again, my statement is, please do not replace our leadership at this crucial time, not only for our local community, but national wise. Education, public education is being attacked. And right now is not the time to remove leadership without any evidence of wrong because of whatever things. If you have evidence of laws being broken, policies being broken, and I mean Neola law policy, I can understand, then you have a case. However, right now, nationally, we are being attacked. Please do not remove our leadership when we are all on one accord as a staff to move forward for our students.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present who would like to make a public comment on an agenda item? You have the floor.
Carlton Lynch, I want to say first, thank to the board for allowing us this opportunity to speak. And most of all, thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to be able to be present as pastors and involved, not just during times like these of what seems to be chaos, but even when we hear about turmoil and trouble that goes on at the school, pastors are available and have been involved. And we can possibly do more in coming to meetings like this, but I think the real work is when principals need help and when superintendents need help. And from my personal experience, our superintendent has always kept his door open to help with change. I will say this, I don't know the history of Benton Harbor like so many know it, but I will say this, but when there was a time that you needed people to stand up and fight when government came in trying to shut our community down, we were all on one accord at that time because we wanted the doors of this school to stay open. It amazes that when we all have the same idea, it seems as though we can find the strength and the knowledge and the wisdom to work together. But just because we don't agree does not mean we have to be divided. Just because we don't see the same thing by way of a picture does not mean we have to fight and tear up a meeting. So let's respect the fact that we may not agree, but the principle and the whole main idea is, just as my sister has just eloquently spoke today, that I believe that we're in the state of an emergency. And not only we talking about the superintendent, and since we're talking about rumors, I would like to know if it's really true that the state is threatening to come back into the school district and take over. I just believe this, that there seemed to be that there's a divide of support and there's a divide of no support by way of our superintendent. I believe in every person that's at this table that can make a crucial decision, not on behalf of personal privilege and not on behalf of what you feel about a person, their personality. But I really don't believe that it's all about the kids like we all say it is. Because I believe we got a lot of personal hangups with each other. And when one thing I've learned here is that when you strike a person, you're done with them. So I just believe that we just need to just take a moment and just breathe for a moment. And I think just how our sister just talked about the nation and the country and all that's going on, I don't believe that we should move at this junction in time right now. So I am in support of our superintendent, not the person, but I'm talking about the position and him staying there to push our children in this district forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else present that would like to make a comment on an agenda item?
President, board members. Actually, I came here to introduce myself as the new football coach for Ben Arbor Schools. Thank you. I'm not sure of the, I was waiting patiently. I don't know if there was agenda items and public comments, but I would like to say this. I'll try to be brief. So here's the thing. They want us to fail. They want us to fail. Us being you, the city, the township, they want us to fail. I'm not one that's going to say they want us to fail and not tell you who they are. They, I go back 26 years. I've been here 26 years. You see, I believe in stability. As your football coach, I'll say this again. I was coming to talk about football. I'm very loyal, very dedicated, 26 years for the city. I wasn't going nowhere. I'm not going nowhere here until we get started winning championships. I wish that Coach Stone was here because we got to bet who's going to win the next district championship first. I'm putting out publicly, we're going to try to make Benton Harbor not a basketball town, but a football town. So it's going to take the support of you, parents. We're going to rebuild our booster club, the support of the pastors who I have here. I've already pledged their support for the program, so I thank you for that. Getting back to my point, I guess I'm switching hats. When I came here, I went to Cornerstone to the visit. Sat down with then was the president. His name is Mark. I'm forgetting his last name. Mitchell. Mitchell. Sat down and explained to me what the plan was for Benton Harbor. If you want, we talked about history. Pastor talked about history of Benton Harbor. There was a project called Harbor Town 1 and Harbor Town 2. The first part of Harbor Town 1 is what you see there on Market Street across from Meeks. Harbor Town 2 was, and I saw the model with my own eyes. He showed it to me. Harbor Town 2 was the removal of the high school and putting condominiums to oversee the water. Again, I saw that with my own eyes. That was Cornerstone Alliance. Let's kind of fast forward. Remember they said we were going to expand the airport. Remember they cleaned out the heights? They moved all the people out the heights, didn't they? Did they move it back in? Is the airport, I'm sorry, I can't look that way. Is the airport expanded? It's not. It's a land grab. It's a land grab. So back, a year or two ago, when the governor jumped the gun, thought they had us, came downtown about we're about to take over the district because they want this from the beginning. We all know that as Benton Harbor goes, so does Berrien County goes. You got to come through Benton Harbor to get to Kalamazoo, get to Detroit, get to Chicago. They want our land. We cannot play into their hands. We need stability. Let me flip my hat. As the Director of Public Safety, Dr. Butts has been 100% open to me, to the department. We work together in operations. Again, we are Benton Harbor. That's our battle cry. We are Benton Harbor. We take care of each other, but we got to get along and know that your gifts will make room for you and bring you before great men. Let's take care of our own business. We got issues at the court. They don't treat us right. That's my fight. Here on chat with you, Chief Abrams. But we need some stability. We need some consistency across the board. I'm here to bring that. to the football program, and anything else I can do for you, us all, because again, we are Benton Harbor, period.
Is there anyone else present for a public comment on agenda items?
I'm here speaking on behalf of in support of. Y'all bear with me. I'm here speaking on behalf of our superintendent. I'm actually gonna speak on like a parent level. I'm speaking from a parent level. I have currently 3 children that's enrolled in Benton Harbor.
Please hold the mic up a little closer to your mouth. Right there, yep.
I have, can you hear me now? Okay, I have, 3 children that is enrolled in Benton Harbor area schools right now. And, so I've raised 6 children. I didn't send my kids to Benton Harbor area schools. I sent them elsewhere because during that time, and mind you, let me just say this, I'm a tiger. I grew up in Benton Harbor area school. I've been a cougar to a tiger. But when my children was coming up, I didn't feel the same thing that I felt when I was in school. I did not. So I sent my children elsewhere and they graduated elsewhere. At the present moment, I have other children that I'm raising, and I brought them back because I felt a difference. I felt a difference. I felt like we had teachers who cared. I felt like we had people who were upper who cared. I try to teach, you treat people how you want to be treated. You don't judge a book by its cover. When a person can do 50 million good things and one wrong thing come up and we want to like tear that person down or tear this down or tear that down. I'm in support of Dr. Butts because at the present moment, I feel like my children is getting the things that they need as far as the stability. And I have one who has an IEP, who was having trouble, who wasn't even reading when I first got her. She was not reading. She is reading now because of things that is happening, because of things that was put in place to help her grow and things that she needed to grow in. I have one who actually excelled in their testing, which means got above the score that was needed because of the things that are being put in place and the things that are going forth. I feel secure right now. I'm not just a parent, I'm an employee. I teach 2nd grade. I feel secure right now with our superintendent. I feel like he cares. I have never had a superintendent, even as a parent, that I have met, who have had a one-on-one with me, who support, I believe that he supports and I believe that he is here for the better of our children. These are our leaders that we are raising, even with mine. I teach what I teach at home, but we know when they go out, they're children. So all I'm saying is where there's unity, there's love. When we can be peaceful about a situation, I'm gonna go sit down. When we really think about what's going on and we think about what we would do, I encourage you to just think and be real when you think. That's my thing. Be real when you think. If there is something there, then you do what you need to do. I almost went to church, but if you, if you see the stability, okay, if you see the stability, if you see the growth, if you see the things happen, if you come to our schools and talk to us, even the parents, I'm in support of keeping our superintendent. And I appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Is there anyone else present?
Yes, I got a little head cold too. To the president and to the superintendent and to all the members of the board and to all of us that are here and to the staff, we thank God for you. Now, let me say this. I'm gonna start off with this. that getting rid of the superintendent is not gonna solve the problem. That's not the problem solved. Now, I have been a volunteer in the Benton Harbor area schools since January of 1990. On a Monday morning, I was sleeping in my bed and Mrs. Greta Hines called me. You know, Renata, you know, they from Jamaica. She had that Jamaican accent. She said, Reverend Childs, do you know who this is? I said, sound like Mrs. Hines. She said, yes. She said, I would like for you to come out to, don't nobody know nothing about this school now, Martindale School, and help me out. She had Martindale and Barn. So I went out there and I worked with her. That's when I first started. I graduated from Benton Harbor in 1973. Came up here as a sophomore. We had split sessions. We had so many students. I think they were even thinking about building a new facility. 1 week before first semester ended in 1971, they had that so-called riot, that disturbance. Whites started leaving, moving to St. At that time, you had to move to St. Joe. Then you had the political, you had the first black mayor. So whites started leaving. Then you had the DSEG. Now we see that wasn't the best thing. No one in the 49022 knew anything about any other school district but Benton Harbor. And so the DSEG opened the door for Coloma and Eau Claire. And so you had more students leaving. Then charter school, then school of choice. And so we see what we have now, all these vacant buildings. In Fairplain, Martindale, Hull, I almost cried when I passed by Hull School. That school, I went to the best school in the district. Only went to 2 schools, Hull from K through 9, then I came up here as a sophomore and graduated in 73. Let me say this, it's an all hands on deck. It's gonna take everybody. It's gonna take parents checking them children. When I went to Hull School, we never had hot lunch. They used to ask me, the students at Fairplain, when I come up here, say, Reverend, why you up here eating this so nasty food? I said, I never had no hot food at Hull. So it's gonna take everybody, and bottom line, it's gonna take at least 20 to 30% of the parents that have their children in other districts. I'm bringing my children back, bringing their money back, and we're gonna hold everybody accountable here at the Benton Harbor School District. That's what it's gonna take. It's gonna take the students coming back and bring some money. Right now, they're using our district.
Reverend, please wrap up your
to
comment.
balance their budget. So bottom line, it's an all hands on deck. It's gonna take everybody. So we picking on one person or 2 people or whatever. It's gonna take everybody to get this thing together. And it's not gonna happen overnight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for a public comment on an agenda item?
Could you stress agenda items?
All right, hearing none, we're gonna go ahead and proceed. Thank you all for your comments and your input provided. We would encourage you to continue to attend our meetings. We do have quite a bit of a agenda this evening. Just so you all are aware, this essentially is our work session, so it serves as our committee meetings for each of our committees. So we have a section for each of our committees other than our policy and discipline committee. So we're gonna go ahead and begin with our Curriculum and Student Support Services Committee. Our chair is Trustee Gavin, and she is going to open the floor. She'll be chairing within this section of the agenda. However, if there's any clarifications. No, actually, my apologies. We're in board business. Almost overlooked it. So we'll begin with our board retreats and then we'll go into our curriculum committee. So I did send this information out to the board. There are a couple of options.
Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the meeting minutes is an item that's on the agenda as well. We're not actually taking a vote this evening. We'll be taking a vote in the regular session. So if you all have any feedback or anything that needs to be amended, please ensure that you all provide that feedback to myself and the superintendent so we can get those adjustments. Also want to remind you all that protocol as of 9/13/2022, all comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. Our first item of business under board business are our board retreats. And thank you, Treasurer Bradley, for the reminder to notate that as well on the agenda. So as you all are aware, our governance team, which includes the Board of Education as well as Dr. Putz, as a part of our partnership agreement, is required to complete 5 trainings prior to June 30th, 2025. We have completed 2. With the full team present, we did have 2 last year. However, it wasn't all 8 governing members. So we have 2 that have been completed with the board and the superintendent. There are options that we have. The first we've discussed previously, the CBA 310, which is Budget Anatomy and Shortfalls. This course will help board members better understand the budget development process and budgeting during tough economic times, which we are in. Specifics will be addressed, including utilizing program budgeting and allocating available resources, staff, and board member involvement in the budget development process. Options for reducing costs and securing additional revenues. We'll learn the process it takes to build a district's educational spending plan, from developing priorities and goals to meeting contractual obligation and compliance issues. Participants will learn about financial reporting requirements, grants, and categorical programs, and discuss budget forecasting and the breakdown of a typical school budget. So I am anticipating getting this particular training scheduled for our regular board meeting, which is April the 8th. We would have normally had that training this evening. However, we did anticipate quite a bit of public comment this evening. And as you all can see, it's now 7:06. And we're just getting to the business at hand. So there's no way that we would be able to fit a training in today. So in order to ensure that we remain on schedule, I'm proposing that we get through our agenda as efficiently as we can this evening, have a swift regular board meeting on the 8th, and then we can do our budget and anatomy training on the 8th of April, which is that second Tuesday. I know that the trustee that most often may have limitations due to travel is Treasurer Bradley. However, he's confirmed that he will be present. So I'm asking everyone to put a pin in that date and try your best to be present. If you have a complication in your schedule for the regular board meeting for April, let me know so that we don't make the effort to have the training for that date. The second option is what I wanted to kind of get some feedback on before I go further.
President Robinson?
Yes, ma'am.
You said for April, I'm sorry, I missed.
Yeah, April
want to
8th,
do
the
it-
regular board meeting.
You want to do the training during the regular board meeting?
Correct. So I just want to do the votes and then go straight into the training.
Thank you.
Okay. And just so the board is aware, CBA 103, which was required training prior to taking CBA 310, the board did satisfy that training February 25th as a full board, and Ms. Chapman from the Michigan Department of Education has also confirmed that CBA 310 will count as one of our required trainings. The second option is 2 parts, so it would actually count for the remaining of the 2 trainings that we have. So if we do it as I'm suggesting, then we'll have our 5. It is Governance Core 2.0, a team book study. So as a follow-up to presenting a 3-hour workshop on effective committee structure, which we all attended in January, Ms. Macon has suggested to myself that the board and superintendent may wish to consider engaging in a team book study with the facilitated discussion on Governance Core 2.0, school board, superintendents, and schools working together. The content of this particular book is relevant and timely. All of its central principles and processes are embodied within MASB governance standards. Ms. Macon is prepared to facilitate a 2-part book discussion based on providing the Benton Harbor Area Schools governance team with a study guide. And then the second part of it is discussion questions prepared for the particular book, Governance Core 2.0. Each session would be approximately 2 hours in length for a total of 4 hours. Each session would be virtual. My understanding, of course, because of OMA, we have to be present in person, but Ms. Macon would be virtual. For your review, the link has been prepared by the publisher of Governance Core 2.0 and offers an introduction to this influential publication. So when you all look at your actual electronic copy, you can actually access the introduction to that book and learn a little bit more about it. And Ms. Chapman did confirm that this particular book study would count as two trainings via email March 14th, 2025, which I previously sent to you all. So before I know that we've already confirmed we want to do the budget and anatomy training, but before I move forward with setting up the book study, I wanted to get insight from the board and see if there's interest in us doing that. I need you to speak in your mic, please.
Madam President, what dates do they have in mind?
We don't have dates just yet. I wanted to see if the board even had interest.
I'm interested in a
Okay.
book study.
Trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. So I know that we had dates on our work session for training. Are we not doing that anymore?
So we are, so the expectation.
And those are 1 hour trainings.
Right, so the expectation would be that we still try to do those dates. So for example, the regular board meeting, I would be trying to squeeze in the budget training. I'm trying to do that because like I said, we anticipated a long meeting for tonight. We wouldn't be able to get the financial training in that piece, and that particular training requires much longer than an hour, which is what we had edged for tonight. That's a standard 3 hour training or two to 3 hour training, which is why I'm recommending that we get our business, take our votes in the next meeting and then do that training. The other portion of it would be a part of our work session. We would just have to be mindful of the agenda volume that we have for the second half of the work session, and then Ms. Macon would be in virtually. So we do have a standard schedule, and thank you for that clarification. I have not confirmed Ms. Macon's availability for particular dates, I guess is a better response to your question, trustee Rocket Martin. But we do currently have a schedule and an expectation to do our trainings during our work sessions. Now, depending on her availability and the interest, I could also see if there's a Saturday where she could knock it out in one time and we do a full day instead of doing two separate parts. But right now, we already have our schedule set. Secretary Triplett.
So at this present time, Madam President, we already have two,
Correct.
which was in January.
One in January, one in
and one
February. Correct.
Okay, on the 8th, which would be our next meeting,
Correct. We would have three.
we would have three.
Correct.
You're saying that the book study
Would
would
count as 4
and 5,
and 5. It would be two separate 2-hour intervals.
two separate 2-hour intervals.
Correct.
So I can support that, but I also would like for us to continue
To look at
to
options.
look at the other option. I mean, just continue to make preparation for us to go ahead and the schedule that we set down and planned and worked on, that we continue to do that kind of work. It can only help us.
Thank you. Any other feedback from the board? I would like to hear from this table as well. If you all don't hesitate, if you are not in favor of a book study, I don't want to sign us up for anything that's going to be torture for anyone.
I'm in favor of the book study. Now, if a Saturday session is required, just, give me a heads up so I can let my company know.
Okay. If there's no other feedback, so I'll proceed in trying to get clarification from Ms. Macon. I know she said she would be virtual. She may be able to come in, but for a 2-hour session with her traveling, we normally pay for hotel stay and other accommodations such as that. So I thought that her being virtual might be a little bit easier on our pockets. However, we will proceed in the manner that we need to. So again, I'm asking that everyone ensure that you're present for our regular board meeting in April, which is on Tuesday, the 8th. And then I will follow up as it relates to Ms. Macon confirming her availability for us doing the book studies on our April work session and May work session dates. And if we're able to follow that schedule, then we'll have all of our trainings completed prior to June as indicated. So if there's no further discussion on that, at this point, I will pass the floor to the Curriculum and Student Support Services Committee. Our chair is trustee Gavin, so she will be leading the meeting during this portion of, she will be running the agenda during this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, President Robinson. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, I will do my best to speak up. So we have a robust agenda, but I will ask Director Kupch and our directors if we can give the important information, but also just be mindful of the length of the meeting. I have so much to say. but I'm not gonna say it right now. Um, what I'm excited about with our curriculum, student support, curriculum, instruction, and student support services committee is that we are going to start structuring our time so that when the directors report out, they will be speaking to goals that have been set within their departments as it relates to these items. And the goals that their teams have set and how they are working to achieve those goals. I think is very important for us to be working towards very specific goals as it relates to academics, as it relates to peer mediation. The driver's education program is going to be a standing item on this agenda because a lot of people do want to have updates on there. We will be receiving feedback about a special education department. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to, is Dr. Bernick here? He's not here. Okay, so we'll say that piece for, are you prepared? Okay, I'm gonna turn it over to Director Cups.
Thank you. As far as special education goes, there was a recap during our discussions based on the information that Dr. Brennan provided at the last meeting. There is an audit that is currently happening through Barry and Risa. This is something that occurs on a regular basis. And it's a check and a balance, but our special education department is doing very well. One of the points of discussion that we wanted to focus on with special education is the student employment and internship placement. We do have special education students that are currently working in our community to gain valuable life skills and employability skills. Right now, the students are working at Jo-Ann Fabrics and Walgreens, and as we all know, Jo-Ann Fabrics is closing all across the country. So we are reaching out for community members to offer any internship and employment opportunities that may be available at your place of business that could support this important work with our special education students. We really want to make sure that our kids are gaining real life experiences related to the work skills, but also adult skills like paychecks, saving, understanding those really important topics. Through our conversations, Trustee Gavin wanted some clarification on the different levels of work-based learning and school to career options through the state of Michigan. So I did include our staff handbook and our student handbook for work-based learning. And I also linked in the MDE work-based learning manual that outlines the different kinds of work-based learning opportunities.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead to student support services.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. All right, so Student Support Services Department. In your packet, I did provide a copy of some of the board updates. And as Trustee Gavin mentioned, she asked each of us to, put together some goals that we are working towards and been working this school year. First, I would like to just let you meet the team, refresh you again about who's in student support services. It's of course myself, and you met Ms. Brenda Matthews, our registrar for the district. We have Ms. Soledad Martinez, our family and community specialist. And then we also have Mr. Danny Jennings, our interim athletic director / assistant principal, and Tiara Greer Allen, our truancy prevention specialist in our department. And to give you a little bit more background about what exactly Student Support Services Department is, we are dedicated to fostering a positive and equitable learning environment for all students. We provide comprehensive support to schools and families through a wide range of programs and services. Our team offers expert consultation on best practices in crucial areas such as pupil accounting, attendance, student discipline, and implementation of the student handbook and code of conduct. We ensure compliance and support for vulnerable students, populations through the student to the McKinney-Vento Student in Transition Program and our foster care services. We are committed to upholding student rights and safety through Title IX oversight. Our department also promotes a holistic student development by managing student athletic development, facilitating smooth school registration, maintaining accurate school records and transcripts, and processing work permits. We actively cultivate strong partnerships with families and community through family and community engagement initiatives. Furthermore, we empower schools to address student needs through our multi-tier system of support, which is MTSS, our positive behavior interventions and supports PBIS, restorative practice, and social emotional learning implementation. We are the hub that connects schools, students, families, and community with the necessary resources and supports to assure the academic, social, behavioral, and emotional well-being and success of all students. So with that being said, some of the work that we've been doing, implementing the multi-tier system of supports with fidelity this school year. Our progress so far, we have formed our district MTSS implementation team. That work that we've been doing has been able to funnel down to our buildings, such as our social emotional behavioral health in the classroom trainings that we have been providing to our kindergarten and third grade teachers. We have our social emotional behavioral health non-classroom trainings that we have provided to our school leadership teams in all of our buildings, kindergarten through 12th grade. Of course, our district-wide PBIS, our core value ROAR, we have implemented in our buildings. We have implemented pyramid model, which is the positive behavioral interventions and support for our preschool at Discovery Enrichment Center. We have provided trainings for restorative practice with partnership through our communities and schools. And we also, with the Black Male Educators Alliance. We have our peer mediation that we have in our middle school and high school. Some of our data assessments that we have collected this school year is our tiered fidelity inventory, which is the TFI, and that is for our PBIS to see to assess what we say we are doing around supporting our students with interventions. We have our classroom management observation tool that is there to help support our teachers in their classrooms. We have our teaching pyramid observation tool, which is a teapot, and that is for our preschool buildings as well. We also this school year have our early warning intervention and monitoring system. That is our data collection. So each of our buildings is now really weekly are looking at the data. So we're looking at the ABCs, the attendance, the behavior, and our course academics. We have is district-wide, the district capacity assessment tool that we have used and have been working with the Michigan MTSS Technical Center. We have completed our benchmarks of quality with our early childhood, and we have completed surveys for student, staff, and our parent families perception surveys. So our next steps that we are working towards is to continue the social emotional behavioral health trainings that we're going to provide for in classrooms. So all of our staff will be getting that training with the support from the Michigan MTSS Technical Center for next year. Around student attendance, our progress, we have, again, our attendance campaign, the awareness on our websites, email, text, and social media. We have had our incentives. I'm sure a lot of you have seen where we have the iPads and the bikes for our count days. We have been having our data tracking. And every week we have our attendance team working with our truancy prevention specialists. Next steps, we are forming and putting together our attendance manual, which you will be coming and sharing that with you. One thing I want to just put out there, we will have a student attendance contest. So we'll start really promoting that. So at our elementary buildings, we want to have a poster contest. At our secondary buildings, we want to have a public service announcement around the importance of attending school and everyday matters. I would like to share some important attendance data. On the side, if you can see, comparing the years from absent rate from 2022 to 2023 to now 2024, 2025. As you can see, we have as a district 3% gains of our students coming to school. So thank you. Next, I want to speak on our student enrollment, progress. We have had, again, you have met Ms. Matthews. As I said, as a team, I can't do it without my team. We have an awesome team. I say we're the best department in Benton Harbor area schools. We have our open enrollment started. We started that early this school year. I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably got the robocalls, texts, emails, or seen it on the website. We now have our preschool kindergarten roundup. We have our signs. We have yard signs. And on our website, one great thing you'll probably see is visible for community events. I do know we have Resource Wednesdays at Mosaic that our registrar, Ms. Matthews, will be attending. And then also we had put out for a letter of intent for our students and parents, so we can see, know where our students, if they'll be returning and where they're going. And we did that with robocalls, text, email, and websites. And so one of the next steps we're going to do with student enrollment, we're still going to get out there, boots on the ground, and we will welcome anyone who want to help support us, put signs out, flyers. Please just reach out to me. We'll give you some items. One thing I do want to note, we did have our spring count day that I put the data here for us as well. As stated earlier, we have had 30 students since our count day enrolled in our district. Next is our family and community engagements. I'm not going to go through all of that, but you'll be able to see it and read it on here. But I did want to give an update on our Care Counts Laundry. We have at Fairplain East, we've had 15 families participate with that. And at Martin Luther King Jr., we had 27. Next is our athletics. We had the winter sports banquet on Wednesday, on March 19th, where they recognized athletes, coaches from boys and girls basketball, wrestling, middle school, and they included the football because they did not have a banquet at that time. I just want to also announce and congratulate two of our boys basketball players for making first team All Lakeland Conference. Jaquan Lewis and Keyshawn Hobbs. And we've had our spring sports start. So we have track at the high school and middle school, baseball, softball, and golf. And you already met our new varsity football coach, Mr. Daniel McGinnis. And last but certainly not least, we have our peer mediation building updates. And what I did is I asked each of the peer mediator leads at the buildings to give me their report. So these are their words stated here. And I don't know if you want me to go through these or you just want to read them at your leisure.
I am interested in their goals for peer mediation.
I'm sorry?
I am interested in that.
Yes, you want the goals? Okay, great. So the Fairplain Middle School, Mr. Jones reported that the goal of Fairplain Middle School, they want to have a 95% success rate when they do their peer mediation. So meaning that there's nothing else that happens after they complete peer mediation. At the Benton Harbor High School, Mr. Burden stated their goal is to change the culture of the high school from fighting to being able to mediate dispute without prejudice. And that concludes the update from Student Support Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. I'm gonna open it up to the board just after this piece real quick. This is amazing. First of all, thank you so much. This is an excellent start, I believe, that we can build on. And so when you look at the attendance, when you look at the multi-tier system of support, student enrollment, each of these areas, I think we would all be interested in knowing what are the goals for each of those department leads. What is the attendance goal? What is the enrollment goal? What is the family and community engagement goals for them? And even with the peer mediation, with wanting to have 95% success rate, if we were making that a SMART goal, a 95% success, if there's a way to be more specific in terms of we want to see X amount of students, I'm not, and forgive me, I'm not exactly clear on, like, what do they mean when they say a 95% success rate? Do they mean like we're going to connect with X amount of students and have a 95% success rate in terms of mediating with them, letting them know what peer mediation is, or like, what is that entail? Does that make sense? Is it possible for them to be a little more specific so we can know exactly what they're talking
I could bring that, I could take that to the buildings.
about? Okay, thank you.
Again, this is
Mhm.
their report. It's not my
Absolutely.
report. Yeah.
Yep, and so when they, what would be really amazing, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, is like, we're looking for those SMART goals, those specific, measurable, attainable, related, timely goals. You want to have this amount, you want to reach this amount of students within this amount of time, and this is the result. That's what I think we, like, for moving forward, if it's possible to have like that level of, goal feedback, that would be amazing. And I'll open it up to my fellow board members.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
She's chairing at this.
I'd like to speak to the recruitment piece. Have you guys thought about getting out the Roar bus? Dr. Bus had a Roar bus with the computers where we would take it. And it was for parents, to use it as an enrollment tool and a recruitment tool for their students. I can remember recruiting students in the housing complexes. In Highland, we recruited, like, in one day, a classroom, about 21 students, kindergartens coming in. And we were fortunate enough to have the Board of Health come along with us so they could look at their shop records and all the information that they needed. And so I am willing to help you recruit if that's what you need. You said if we were interested, I'm interested. But that door to door is an excellent way to recruit. When I go out into the housing complexes, I live in the hood, so it doesn't bother me. You see all these little kids playing in the street, all the little kids are out. And so we can very easily talk to parents and get some of those youngsters to be enrolled in our buildings, or even just come back to our district. And so that might be a tool that we can use. It's certainly a very bus friendly. It's nice to look at. It's transportation, and it it advertises our school district. So maybe we could do that. Just
Okay.
let me know when you need me.
Ms. Singer, as a reminder, can you ensure that you put the 2-minute clock up?
I see Vice President Bowen's hand up, I believe.
Thank you, trustee Gully, Gavin, sorry, went way back. Also on the recruitment, have you guys started utilizing the CTE students? And was there any status on getting anything for, like, advertisement on Hulu and Amazon and things of that nature?
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the last part?
On the recruiting strategy, have you guys started using the CTE students developing marketing, like TV commercials, Hulu, and everything of that nature?
So that request was put out there. I believe that they are working on that, but I'm gonna pass it on to Dr. Butts to speak on that.
So are you passing to me now?
Yes.
So we did do a Hulu commercial in the past. So in my announcements, one of the things that I was going to announce is that what I'm planning to do is have each school, highlight of each school each month with a theme, and to put it out. So if Hulu is one of those platforms that you like to see it on, we can definitely make it happen. We've made it happen before with the last commercial. So that is a small lift that we can do.
Thank you. So on the I'm sorry, trustee Gavin, can I continue? I got another question.
Yes, please. You have a minute and 13 seconds.
On the student data, I see that you guys gave us the student enrollment. Do you have any data on how many students have been dropped?
I can send that. We do have information on how many students. We don't call it drop, we call it unenrollment. So we can definitely get that information to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands. Thank you so much, Director Nichols. We'll go on to the driver's education topic. With Dr. Butts, if you can give us an update on that project.
Yes, ma'am. So today I sent out a video email to our students, encouraging them to sign up. So they are currently enrolled in the Benton Harbor area school, which will include the seniors as well, the graduating seniors, to fill out a interest survey that you'll see in your packet to send it in. Right now we have 2 instructors that are enrolled in the process of becoming certified. So we will be able to hold 72 students at the beginning of July. So we're putting the interest forms out, and it'll be on a lottery basis if we get over the 72 number that we have for the instructors.
Thank you, Dr. Butts. And so this form that you sent out does it serve as also a waiting list for those students who are interested to have their name to be considered?
Yes, ma'am. So all names will be entered into a lottery database.
You said in a lottery?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you elaborate? Are you saying that it's even if they signed up first, they still may not have an opportunity to be first, or?
So in order to be fair, because we only have 2 instructors, which is going to be 36 per class, 72 spots. If we get over the 72 number, then we'll just place them all into a lottery. So to be fair to all students.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members? I see Vice President Bowens.
Thank you, Trustee Gully. I'm sorry, Trustee
Gavin.
Gavin. So has there been a survey, earlier this year, I asked about how many students that receive special education services through MRS. Is there any data on that?
I'm sure Dr. Burnett can do a follow-up on that. He has all that information.
Sorry, okay. And by say, do we know how many students have their license and how many don't, or you're just using this form just to?
The data that we pulled out of Power School is based solely on the student's age. At this time, we do not have any data on the students that have a driver's license or do not. That would be part of why we're using the interest form to determine who would want to take the driver's education course because they haven't completed driver's education and don't have their license.
And we also want to make sure that for data breaches, because earlier this year, if you recall, there was a data breach across the United States of Power School. We try to limit the information that is in there so that student information can be kept to a minimum.
So I get that with Power School, but even just doing a Google form, putting it out there, letting the parents and students, because the reason I asked is one of the parents posted their child's license on Facebook. And the child just got it. And she's like, I got done it. I paid all of this money. And now Benton Harbor Area Schools is bringing it. And, what's the data on how many students, Michigan Rehabilitation Services. So we're able to have longevity on the program. I know it's a grant funding, but at the previous meeting, that's what, if we can get that information, how much we could save and stretch the program. So thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm looking at the form, Dr. Butts, and it says that verification by birth certificate may be required by first class session, and don't we get that verification when we enroll our students?
We should have that information as we enroll. Ms. Cups, would you like to expand on that? Ms. Cups helped develop this Google form.
Yep, so with us already having that verification when we enroll our students, I'm curious as to why we would be requiring them to provide this in order to sign up.
Michigan states that you have to be 14 and 8 months old to be eligible to start driver's education. So that line was just placed in there based on the other schools that provide driver's education. We looked at several different schools and they included that line. So we followed suit to ensure that we did not start anybody in driver's education that was younger than 14 and 8 months.
I guess I hate that we lost our registrar. She was here. Do we require birth certificate when they enroll in school? I know that some schools are, driver's education schools are private and they don't have the access to records that Ben Harbor area schools would have to our students. So is our birth certificates, do you know if birth certificates are a part of the enrollment process here?
I'll have Ms. Matthews to follow up on that one.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that as we're creating these documents and even the language, the wording of it, there is explanation to the students, because some of it is subsequent student selection course enrollment and scheduling will be completed by May 30th, 2025. Some of the language, we just want to make sure that it's student friendly, if that makes sense. But thank you so much for providing this. So this is something that went out to the students. That means they can sign up now. And if it's possible, do we have anything that we're sending to the parents to let them know also that this form has gone out to students?
I plan on having Miss Booth, excuse me, Miss Booth to upload it on our website and our social media platform.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll go on to assessment benchmark NWEA updates.
All of our schools are prepared for the testing season that begins when we return from spring break. I just wanted to point out a big highlight with our NWEA scores. Of the students that tested in the winter of 2025, 777 students increased their reading scores from fall to winter.
By what percent?
As compared to the same cohort of students last year from fall to winter, we have a 39.5% increase in the amount of students that have increased their reading scores. For math from fall to winter, the students that tested in the winter of 2025, 823 of them increased their math scores. At the same cohort of testing students compared to fall to winter last school year, 451 students, brace yourselves, that's an 82.48% increase. I definitely think it's very important to give a shout out to all of the teachers, interventionists, paraprofessionals, administrators in all of the buildings with all of their hard work. All of the elementary teachers and the reading ELA and math teachers in the middle school and high school have all tackled new curricular programs this year. Those programs are standards-based, they are direct instruction, and they are designed specifically to increase and close those learning gaps, increase learning and close the learning gaps. It has not been easy for anyone. Everyone is working very, very hard. And something that I think needs to be in the forefront of everyone's mind is that if these gains are not seen when we have our state testing, that's not because our students are not learning. That's because the number of students that are moving into the partially proficient group and are becoming closer and closer to that proficient benchmark, that group of students is getting larger very fast. And that is very important.
Thank you so much, Director Cutch. And many of us do understand that there is a difference between those tests that pre-test and then post-test the students and see how they've gained, and then those state standardized tests, which oftentimes just really much test poverty levels, right? And so we have to celebrate our gains, celebrate our students, and don't allow anybody to label them because we know what they're capable of. Let's move on to the CTE updates.
So I thought that our robotics team would be here to do a demonstration. They had indicated that they would be here, but evidently something has.
Oh, I want to apologize for that. So gratefully, we were able to approve their trip. And so they're actually going to Ferris, right? And so they request, yes, it's still here. We're so excited that they have an opportunity to represent us. I got an opportunity to see them off today. And so just really excited for them and what they've accomplished. And so what we'll do is we'll just add them on for the next time. And then I'll pass it over to you.
And Director Wilson is coaching our track team at a meet tonight. And so the Zello update will come at a future meeting. I did want to speak about summer school. We have a 6 weeks summer school planned for June 16th through July 24th with breaks on Fridays. Breakfast and lunch will be provided. We are proposing in one of our board reports the use of summer scholars. It comes with a complete set of 25 ELA lessons at each grade level K-8 and 25 math lessons with weekly STEM activities. The program also comes with all of the materials required for those STEM activities. There are student workbooks that are included. All of the materials become our property, as in all of the instructional materials. So for future summers, we can continue to use the program with only replenishing the consumable items. This is only the second year for this program, so that was something I wanted to make sure that we had the sustainability. It wasn't a program that they were going to not continue to support. And this is the second year for this program, Summer Scholars, through TCM, which is a company called Teacher Created Materials. And so we will have access to this for several more years. For our grades 9 through 12, we are proposing a traditional credit recovery course with teachers for math, ELA, and social studies. But then we would also like to have a credit recovery academy in order to recover as many credits as possible for students in order to begin the 25-26 school year on track for graduation. As was presented by the high school staff, we know that we have about 50% of our high school students that are currently working on Edgenuity courses to ensure that they have completed all of the requirements for graduation instead of making that push at the end of high school. We would like to make that push at the beginning and get our kiddos that are not on track after their freshman and sophomore years back on track for where they should be, so we can focus on doing great in our current courses instead of spending the extra time on recovering credits on other courses. We do have an additional 3 weeks of summer programming planned, but we are waiting for the 25-26 funding and budgeting in order to solidify that. We cannot use this school year's funding for programming that we're proposing for the end of July and beginning of August. We would like to have a jump start for students that are entering and or leaving kindergarten. One of the biggest needs that's been identified by our Discovery Enrichment Center is that our kiddos that are coming into kindergarten are not prepared to, quote, do school. Walking in lines, knowing how to follow directions from other adults that aren't their family members, writing their name on their paper, being away from home for the whole day, a variety of different things. So we thought that a 3-week jumpstart for those kiddos would be a great soft start to kindergarten to make them even more successful at Discovery Enrichment Center. Summer impact for students in grades K-8. This is a SAVIS program. Our teachers are familiar with SAVIS already through math, social studies, and another program that has been used in the past. And they very much like the SAVIS platform. So this would be a great way to keep kiddos from having that summer slide. if we offer the full 9 weeks during the summer. We also are proposing 3 different camps, a week of readers theater, which is for grades 1 through 8. They put on a play based on the reading that they do together. And the format of the program is actually to have the star of the show be the student with the weakest reading skills. So that's an excellent way to showcase kiddos that don't always get to be in the spotlight. We're also proposing a week of STEM camp and a week of the CTE Career Exploration Camp for kids to get an opportunity to see a variety of careers throughout that week. We'd also like to have a transition time for students that are leaving 5th grade and entering into 6th grade. Our middle school principal specifically requested that. She wants to ensure that our 5th graders move over to Fairplain Middle School in the most positive way possible and to get them going and growing up. And these would take place during the weeks of July 28th through August 15th. The last thing on our agenda here is about the district calendar.
Quick question, Director Kupch, is it possible for unless the other board members disagree, is it possible for the calendar, if you could just tell us what's different?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So I do have the staff report on here, but we have not had the official meeting with the Benton Harbor Education Association. We did have members of the association on our committee, but we wanted to make sure to have a meeting with the association specifically. There are 3 drafts that the board has in their packets. The difference from the first one to the second one is the first one does not have any early release days. The second one has 6 early release days. And the purpose of those days is to focus on the MTSS or multi-tiered system of support, training and implementation in all 6 buildings next school year. We want to make sure our administrators and teachers and support staff have the time that they need to collect and evaluate data, discuss instructional strategies and a variety of interventions, and make plans for how to improve based on the needs of our students. So that is included in the second draft. The third draft, the only difference is the inclusion of an additional district-provided professional development in September in order to ensure that we have enough time to devote to our social, emotional, behavior health training for all of our staff. So we added that in to an additional draft. But something I'd like to highlight, all of the calendars have 179 instructional days plus 5 district provided professional days, which is 4 additional in-person instructional days with our students as compared to this year. This year, we have 175 instructional days with 5 district provided professional development days, which gives us our 180 total. But to ensure the best for our students, we thought more in-person instruction for our students was the best thing to do.
Thank you, Director Kupch. I have a question about the 21st Century Program. Will you be providing like a rollout of how that program is going to be given to the teachers? They're going to get their training. They're going to have an opportunity to design their curriculum prior to next year.
We have a full implementation plan that I would be happy to share with you, but a couple of highlights. This Friday, 21st Ed will be here in the district. Half of the day will be with the K-5 staff. The other half of the day will be with the 6 to 12 staff. Their theme is actually painting with a twist. They're going to do a painting and incorporate a QR code into it. Every teacher will have their own painting for their classroom, and the QR code is actually a student tool that they will use next school year when school starts. Then we will have their 2-day training institute for up to 50 individuals that want to become certified. We've talked about that before. That will happen in June. Then one of our back to school professional development days is dedicated to 21st Ed. So that's when they will get that official training, but they're getting started this Friday.
Good deal. Thank you so much. I think I saw Treasurer Bradley's hand up.
I know, a real quick question, how do you all, build in the snow days? So if we have a huge amount of snow days, how do y'all build that into the calendar? I forgot how that formula worked.
Michigan gives us 6 days that are forgiven based on weather, which having come from Indiana, that's fantastic. We didn't have those there.
And also, we take into consideration if we add any extra days over in our calendar, which we already have this year and scheduled to do next year, we take that in consideration too. There's a formula for that as well.
So we would have 4 additional days next year on top of those 6.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Just one more time. When does summer school start? For the elementary or for everybody?
The summer school for all students, K-12, would begin on June 16th. So there's a week off after school, lets out, which we actually will have professional development during that time. And then we'll welcome our kids back on June 16th.
Do they go all day, half day, 8 to 12, 8 to 2? How is it divided?
It's half day. They'll have breakfast and lunch. 8 o'clock is teachers start, and students come for breakfast. So their classes would start about 8:30. And then I believe the buses picked up last year at 12:30. So that would be the same plan this year. But no school on Friday.
Thank you so much, Director Kupch. We'll go on to the staff report, C2.
It's great.
Are these, we're not voting on these, this is just.
No.
Can you just give us a brief summary of each and then we'll just read through this on our own?
Summer Scholars is the curricular program for K-8. It's 25 math lessons plus weekly STEM activities, 25 ELA lessons for each grade, K-12. And it comes with student consumables and professional development for the teachers.
Good deal.
That was actually a request of the teachers because last year they didn't have a curricular program. And the other staff report for staff report C3 is for our first graders to have a PBIS rewards trip to Potawatomi Zoo because that's across state lines. It comes with a board report.
Good deal. Thank you so much, Director Kupch. I believe that in the future, what we would like to aspire to is because our curriculum committee meetings are an hour, we would love to carve out some time for community members to be able to ask questions or give input as well. But I know that cannot happen today. We had a lot of, speakers and a lot of other things going on. But I think that if there's a way that we can kind of create our agenda that will allow for that, I think that would be a great advancement for us. I'm gonna turn it over to you, President Robinson.
All right, thank you, Chair Gavin, for chairing during your Curriculum and Student Support Committee meeting. Reminder to the board, as Director Kupch has indicated, once she is able to speak with the teachers union and have a 2025-2026 Benton Harbor Area School District School calendar that is ready to be submitted by administration, that will come to you as staff report C1. So although you do not see it as an item on your actual agenda, it is within the curriculum agenda. So you want to make sure that you take the opportunity to review that solidified calendar once provided. Prepare yourself and review the staff report, as well as Summer Scholars K-8, staff report C2, field trip grade 1, Potawatomi Zoo, South Bend, Indiana, staff report C3. As I indicated before, we'll be whipping through our next meeting as it relates to our votes. So if you have any questions that require answering that impact your vote, you need to send those to Dr. Butts in advance, because I plan to take vote in our next meeting and I'm hoping to have minimal comments or questions because this was the opportunity to do that. So thank you again, Chair Gavin. Next, moving right along, we have Facilities and Finance.
Madam President, can we take a 5-minute recess?
Absolutely. We can actually it's 7:59. I'll give us a little bit better than that. I'll give us to 8:10 p.m. We'll reconvene And then when we return, we'll be at facilities and finance operations. So we're at recess as of 7:59 PM. All right, so we're returning from recess at 8:16 PM. We do apologize. We went a few minutes over expected. We're gonna pass the floor to our Chair of Facilities and Finance Operations, and he's going to guide us through the agenda for that committee. As a reminder to the public that hasn't been present during our work sessions, what we've essentially done is turned our work sessions into our individual committee meetings. So that's why you see the additional chairs running their portions of the meeting, because this is as if we are in their structured committee meeting. So again, I'm passing the floor over to Treasurer Bradley and he'll proceed.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to start with our facility director, Director Dash, and he will take it over from there with his updates. And we'll save questions till the end of his portion, and then we'll go into finance after questions and answers from facilities. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you. First up, we're going to talk about the Verkada project. That's the security cameras that you guys voted on and that we're getting installed into the buildings. The wiring for DC, Fairplain East, and MOK is all done. They have actually put in cameras, a lot of cameras in MOK. There's a few cameras, I think there's 4 cameras that were put in prior to the project. There were our test cameras, those are in DC. So what I'm getting at is they've installed a lot of cameras in MLK. That's called the trim out. At the very bottom of that of the notes there, it says update from contractor. Those are actually the notes from the meetings that we have with the contractor. I request that they send them to us so that way I could put them in here for you guys to view straight from them. So that way it's untainted. It's right from them. But anyways, training for principals at MLK, DC, and Fairplain East actually starts tomorrow. At 1 o'clock. It will be hosted at MLK. That will be for just to teach everyone about the cameras, how the software works. If they have any questions, then the vendor themselves, the company can answer it directly. So that will be a nice thing to do. Technology is going to be in every training there. The BHAS technology department that happens. We're going to be there so that way if anyone has any questions, like for us specifically, we're going to be there. And also it gives us the benefit of learning it like 3 times. So that's cool. The work should be finished mid to late April, but that's for the whole project, like every building, everything. Just so you know, they have not gone into any other buildings except for DC, Fairplain East, and MLK, but a few of the other buildings besides the high school are pretty quick, you know. The next will be the high school track. The contractor Tarkat reached out to us, and if you click the little link in there, I just copied and pasted from the email directly from them once again their words, so that way you guys see exactly what we see. Pending weather, they're planning on being back up at the track around the beginning of April to complete the storm drain work and irrigation repair. Paving would then be approximately 3 to 4 weeks behind that, give or take. Then they will have about 30 days cure time for the asphalt. The track surfacing should start sometime around the beginning of June, and that'll take about 3 to 4 weeks to complete, and an additional 1 to 2 weeks for striping on the track. They also say they should be done by mid-July. The boiler update. Inside of here, there's a lot of stuff for you guys to click in and just read, including the original, let's see, where's that? Boiler replacement. The original proposal, the contract from the beginning, application certificate for payment. But what I want you guys to be aware of is the change order that is in there. There are a few things that they came across that are going to add to the cost of the actual project. We currently have a contingency allowance of $81,671,000. But they found quite a few things. I could read them off if you'd like me to, the items that they found that needs to be repaired.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. A new control panel for the condensate pump. New power feed to the pump. Replace feed to condensate tank. Replace the bus duct that's here underneath the high school. That contains a lot of wires. Groundwater is seeped through into the tunnel and is dripping right on that what they call it here? The bus duct. That's what they called it. But it's just it's an issue that we gotta get repaired before something else could potentially happen. Revise the gas service here at the high school, replace additional condensate receiver here at the high school. Add a secondary pump to condensate receiver at Fairplain East. Revise the feed water controls at Fairplain East also. The total after deducting the contingency allowance will be $137,005. That's something that I think we need that we're going to be voting on the next meeting. I think that's how that works.
Yeah.
Exterior lighting. Last time we talked about exterior lighting. So we were going through all the exterior lighting, which was super fun because some of it's sensors. So we got to come in early or you got to wait till later. But that was all right. But we went through and we found a bunch of stuff. All the lights and fixtures at DEC are fine and they're confirmed. All fixtures and lights are confirmed at Fairplain East. MLK, all fixtures and lights confirmed. Fairplain Middle, there are 2 fixtures out. The rest work and we will repair. We just got to get the parts. That's all. High school lights in the loading area in the back parking lot back here. Those are all out and there doesn't seem to be any power to them at all. So we're gonna find that too. That's gonna take a minute, but we'll get that done. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Then we got the RFPs, the lawn care. I have not started that yet. I've been doing some other things like, the lighting stuff. The gym roof, we met with me and Dr. Butts and now it has to go out for publishing for the RFP for the gym roof. The lawn care, I do have some ideas on that though. After a lot of people are approaching me about the local people, because I'm looking for local lawn care places because in my mind, if you live here and you drive by here all the time, you know when the work needs to be done. Like you have to look at it every day. So that's what I'm looking for. But one person said something about doing 2 separate RFPs for the district, one for the unused buildings and one for the buildings that are in use. That's just the thought. It sounds pretty good thinking about it. He explained it to me a little bit. Because the unused buildings, it doesn't.
I think in the past we have done 2 separate RFPs. I think have to go back and look. Oh yeah, we did.
Okay.
We did.
So
We did and then combine because Joe.
okay, so we can look at it that way too. Summer work list. So summer's coming up. And so right now we need to start thinking about what are we going to do? What's our goals? So I talked to the maintenance team, and we are coming up with goals of summer projects that we can't do while people are around. It could cause a danger to, student or staff member. But we're going to continue boarding up the unused buildings, because that was us, Trustee Gavin, that boarded up Sorter, just so she knows that was our team internally. Plumbing inspections here at the high school. that one over the summer, this one's gonna take a while. Over the summer, we're gonna try to shut the water off occasionally here to the high school to check the pipes coming out of the walls to the urinals and the bathroom facilities. Because we had that incident, and then just recently, while working on another one, there was the potential for another incident. And then this was your idea, actually, Secretary Triplett. We're gonna shut the power or the water off, and we're just gonna start taking things apart, seeing what's happening. You know, it's better for us to take the time to investigate and find out later and mess up a $500,000 gym floor.
Right.
You know, that was something. Property cleanup. We're gonna work around all of our closed buildings. I was recently contacted by a resident over on M63 by North Shore, who brought something to my attention that she's right. That building, there were trees out there. One fell down. It's just been there, and because of that one tree that fell down, people think it's okay to just put other stuff there. So the spring before summer happens, I already talked to this lady on the phone. She was super nice, Mrs. Walker. I'm gonna contact her. I'm gonna meet her out there, and we're gonna clean that up, and we're gonna start looking at our other unused buildings yards specifically. So that the board up will start probably early summer. The yard cleanup will hopefully start in the spring, you know, because it's not as tedious or not as big of a project, but it has a very visual impact that people see. In spring, you want to see nice things. You want to see it pretty, clean. Let's do that. So that's what I'm getting at with there. The high school art room floor, that's another project we got going on this summer. And Fairplain East portable windows and floor. This last fall, we got the roofs replaced on the portables at Fairplain Middle and at Fairplain East. Fairplain East was in such bad shape that the floor had rotted away underneath it. It's not that big of a problem. I mean, as long as there aren't a bunch of joists mess up. But we can go down, get some windows, we put them in ourselves. We can tear the plywood up and replace it ourselves, and it shouldn't be too big of a deal. But we want to make what we have, we want it to be usable. It shouldn't just sit there and not be used. When a couple $1,000 we can make this thing actual functioning structure. Building security and lock change. So I've been in talks with a contractor, and so without saying too much about things, because there's some things that I shouldn't say like right here about our security stuff. I'm looking into getting every single room and closet the keys replaced. We have probably a good 100 pounds of keys like that we currently have in district, and I'm not even kidding. Like it's quite a bit. And the funny thing is maybe 20% of them are labeled. So the rest are just mystery keys. So I'm looking into getting all that stuff replaced, including some exterior stuff. And what else? Sorry. I received the quote for the exterior doors already for MLK, DC, Fairplain East, and Fairplain Middle. I did forget to add Cape to that. I'm gonna fix that. That's just a phone call. High school exterior will remain the same as far as the keys. What we currently use will be the same for here. There was no need to rekey every exterior, the exterior doors of every building. Let's see. Oh, and I already talked about how every single door in the building will have, every classroom will have its own key instead of everyone just getting a master key and they can just go anywhere. Every classroom will then have its own key that won't work in the classroom next to it. It adds a layer of security for basically everyone that works here. Yeah. And, oh, the contractor, I'm actually meeting the contractor out here, next week. And we're gonna walk through all the buildings and, we're gonna set up a good plan and see where it takes us, what it's gonna look like in the end, you know? But that's it so far.
All right, I'm going to open it up for questions. Madam President, you have the floor.
Okay, so I know that you all had the conversation in my absence regarding the boiler, so I want my trustees to know that I'm not trying to rehash this conversation. But I did previously speak to my concern with every major project that we have. We receive an initial quote. We approve that quote, which is an astronomical amount, and then we come back with the change order that's over $100,000. Now, I believe that the press, Herald Palladium misquoted. They indicated it was $250,000 worth of changes, and so I got that update via the paper in the gas station and almost passed out. But my question would be, with them doing assessment of our boilers and the lay of the land prior, how is it that these many items were missed in that initial quote that was given to us? And is it that we're not doing thorough enough assessments in the beginning? I'm trying to figure out how do we get to a place of finding all of these issues once we begin doing that work? Do they have blueprints, accurate blueprints? Are they doing full assessments? What does that look like?
I will, allow Dr. Butts to speak to that. This project started before me.
Okay.
I have my thoughts, but I'm gonna let him speak to that.
So, Madam President, they did not have all of the blueprints to it. They were actually mapping as they went. There was a request for that, but we weren't able to find all of those blueprints that was requested. And as Mr. Steve, I can't pronounce his last name, said at the last meeting, as they've been going through, they've been finding additional items that needed repair. So some of the things that, when we first went through were like this steel door that goes into the boiler room, they had to be repaired. So we put in a contingency fund in the beginning. We've gone through the contingency fund. There's another major area that they found that has to be corrected. So
That additional major area, is that outside of this change? And I hope it pauses for his response. Is that outside of this change? Are you pre-messaging that there may be an additional change order, or is that notation that you've made included in this change order?
that's the notation included in this change order.
Okay, and then the second question that I had was pertaining to I think that may be it, because you kind of answered both of them in one. But if I am not seeing on this particular list that he's gone through the status of the facilities masters plan. And I feel as though I've been stressing and pressuring on that for maybe about 2 years at this point. So do you want me to wait for that update?
I go and give it to you now because I understand.
Is there a timeline attached to that?
So there's not a timeline attached to it. I did reach out to them today, and I will make sure that by the board meeting, we will have a solidified timeline. I am working on pushing them a little bit harder to get this new survey out and get an updated timeline calendar per your wish. So we are paying them, and they're at our request and behest. So I will make sure that we get our money's worth from that company.
Okay, and so I'll wrap up with this. Our chair was there when we initially had the plan that our previous community leaders came in and assisted us with. And one of the primary concerns of that community group, as well as some of the things that we had heat from, for lack of a better term, from the state, was the amount of properties that we had compared to our enrollment. So I know sometimes when I'm at the table, I am speaking from a politically correct standpoint as it relates to the master's facilities plan, and I've discussed the potential of new schools and things of that nature. But given the season that we are in as a Board of Education and as a district, I think it's extremely imperative that we have all of our ducks in order. And so I am asking that you ensure that we have that updated timeline because we are now 4 months outside of what should have been completion.
Yes, ma'am. We'll make sure that is done by the board meeting.
Okay, and I'm done. Thank
And
you.
I'm gonna say real quick too, a lot of times with older construction, especially with this building, parts of it being 100 years old, you're going to find a lot of surprises. So I knew the cost would run up because anytime you're dealing with anything older, you're gonna find out of date wiring, you're gonna find construction that's maybe shifted, the foundation may have shifted over the years. So I think that's probably one thing. Secretary Triplett, go ahead.
Yes, Chairman Bradley, serving as the chairman of the facility committee, with the last, director of facilities, and when we went into this boiler, this plan of action is related to our boilers and what have you. Again, there are things that when he came last week that were just not clear. And as far as I'm with, President Robinson. They have been in there long enough. They have been in there long enough. And this is not good business. They knew when they got into, and I just want to bring our chairman up to speed, that the reason why when we to present to the community why it would take so long was because of the simple fact that these were old buildings and there was a lot of unknown. And so they were to go in and identify those things. I can see going in and finding something okay, as you go along, but when you get to $100,000, almost $200,000, the same thing with the track, all of these different things, that we made a decision to definitely make sure that we had everything in place. I see here on meeting 5 minutes for the weekly updates. You go to that and it says invitees and attendants. Who are these? Who's been meeting with these people? And has anyone from the committee or from the Board of Education been involved in these meetings with this committee? Okay, if you guys go back to the agenda and you go through.
You're talking about the building security thing handout.
Let me go through them because.
Yeah. The weekly updates.
No, it was if you look at the, I think it's the agenda. And you go down to, I think it's the bottom of the agenda. And it has all of the monthly financial reports with Dr. Bud being the person. Is that?
We doing the facilities right now. We're gonna go to the finances in a second.
No, I'm talking, this is on this, this is, it's, oh, this is, no, it's not that one. Wait a minute, let me go up. But anyhow, it has, I guess this is my question on here. And you guys put in here, it said meeting 5, Benton Harbor School weekly updates. Date March the 25th, 2025. Time 4:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it has on here invitees and attendee and attendance. And they got organizers and what have you on here. MLK Ruff in 100% on 3/1. Do you see that document?
Yeah, that's the one we were talking about. That's the one we were referring to.
Okay, so that'll be in the finance section.
No, that was in the facility section.
That's
the
what I
first
thought.
page.
I didn't know if I was.
Yeah, that's the one I was referring to earlier.
Yes, and so when I look on here, Scott Johnson from Connect. Who is Scott Johnson?
It's not the same
Is
one.
that someone different? That's somebody different. Excuse me?
I'm sorry, so that's someone different.
Thank you very much for that piece of information. Yeah, I just go through and look through it and just said, I saw Scott Johnson and I saw.
A much younger gentleman, sir.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward with our chairman to have us involved in some of these things. But when I saw Scott Johnson, it was just like a red flag. Just want a clarification for the public and for myself. Thank you.
All right, Vice President Moore. Okay.
Director Dash, so yesterday I went by one of our schools and I noticed that some schools, are you guys going in, when you're putting the boards up, are you doing it double-sided? And what I am saying is on the outside boarded up, but also on the inside? And then, for example, look at Martindale
Trying to think of which one Martindale is.
out in
been to
Benton
so
Heights.
Way out there in the Ben Heights.
It's on Laurel Avenue, deep in the heights.
Okay. Well, when we're boarding up the new process of this is to not do double-sided, just do single-sided. If we have to move double-sided, I suppose we could. The truth of the matter is with the board up thing, I've also been in some talks and I didn't want to bring anything up right away, because I don't like to bring things to you guys unless it's like something, worth something to talk about. But, I know. But anyways, I've been in talks with a few people in the community about the potential of cleaning out those buildings. Because I happened to speak to someone down the road, about why another building that is here in just a couple blocks over, why that one's never broke into. You know what his answer was? Simply because everyone knows there ain't nothing in it. So if I get everything out of the buildings that we aren't using and board up the windows, why go in? So once I get a good solid plan with that, and get the players lined up with that, I'll let you guys know if, I'll let you guys know about how it would look, and then we can decide, do we want to move forward with it? Well, currently, we're trying to just do one side for the windows. What we're doing is we're siliconing around the windows, putting the board on and painting the board ahead of time to help it not get weathered and deteriorate. Putting the board on there and then securing it with screws with kind of security screws to the building. That way, if someone does happen to get one of the screws out, which somehow seems to happen, have fun pulling it off there with all that silicone behind it.
Okay, thank you, because I noticed we board them up constantly and then kids, can take it outside. That's why I was asking on the double-sided.
Yeah, our kids are clever.
Thank you.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes, Director Dash. I know as they go in, they find different things that they didn't anticipate, being there. Is it a possibility that you could maybe just jot down or document those things that they find that they find when they go in that they didn't anticipate seeing? Like if you go in the floor maybe, and then they get down there and they find that all the pipes are corroded and stuff. Could they document that for us?
Are you talking about our unused buildings still, or are you talking about the
Talk up just a little bit.
huh?
He's saying, are you talking?
Talk up just a little bit.
Oh, were you talking about the unused buildings?
Well, I'm just saying, because we're spending these additional dollars as they find things that they didn't anticipate being there. Could they document that for us so that we can see, okay, this is what we looked at on the outside, but once we got into doing the project, this is what we found,
I could ask them.
Yeah, if they would, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my second thing is this: for the surveys, I had asked that we also include some inside building pictures on that survey. We have a lot of outside. They've taken pictures of the outside of the buildings, but they have not taken pictures of any of the inside of the buildings. It may be to get a fair survey and to really present transparency to the public. They need to see what the buildings look like inside as well as outside.
Yeah, that's I remember you saying that. That's actually a plan. We just haven't done it yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
if we could include that too, so they can really see,
We
what's
will.
going on.
All right, Trustee Gavin.
Thank you. My question was about the boiler contract. I know that this question comes up quite often in terms of the regulating of the heat in the classrooms. I know we've asked that multiple times. I know we've asked for information around the contract, and I'm wondering, you know, about our process. When we get big contracts, $4 million contracts like that, do we have our attorney review the contract to make sure that we are clear on what we're getting and what we're not getting? Because I know that the question in regards to the regulation of the heat has been a main question for us. Did we have the attorney review it? And was there feedback from him in terms of what we are supposed to have from this contract?
So we did have an attorney to look it over. I remember our previous director of facilities having it sent off. He and our previous finance director had it sent off to the attorneys to make sure that everything was in place. I did go down to speak with Egan, who's installing the boilers. Installing the boilers. They can regulate the amount of steam going to different parts of the building when the entire project is done. But for each room, we won't be able to go in and turn it down to 60 or to 78 or to 85. They could just regulate the amount of steam that's going to different portions of the building. So I'm curious as I look right through the contract, because I've been trying to read it, and it's one of them that I have, it's like 31, one that you have, it's like 35 pages, to see if that because I read in the 11-page contract, it said all of its appurtenances, which means all of its pieces. So I'm wondering, are those the big control valves they were talking about? Apprentices, excuse me, that they were talking about, or the actual controls in the room? So that's what I got to get clarity on.
Did the attorney provide any clarity on, and did the attorney provide clarity as to what we're getting? I think everybody wants to know if the rooms can be regulated. I'm not good with the steam or the this or that, like all of that jargon. I'm not good with this, so I apologize. But I think the main question is, when a child and staff are in that room, can they regulate the heat when they're in there? Is that a part of our contract? And did the attorney give insights into that?
And that's what I got to look into. I will make sure I look into that portion.
They never did.
They looked into it. I just got to make sure that was specifically stated, because I know when we sat in on the meeting, when Mr. Tripper was chair of that meeting, I know I heard what he heard, that we would be able to regulate the controls in the room. And I heard the exact same thing. So I got to go back and look at the language from the attorneys. Yep.
Okay, so I guess that's the answer that we'll be looking for, is a direct, yes, this is in our contract that we have these that we have these services, and that there is no additional cost for those services, and this is how it will work. That's what I would be looking for, is direct.
And that's I'll be trying to provide it to you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Triplett.
Chairman Bradley, we did, as you said, because I know you were just as confused as I was. That was something that was specific, because at the time that we were asking the question, that was something that Trustee Gavin brought up and saying, you know, will they be able to? And when they presented to us, they told us that they would be able to do the control in the classrooms once they got the base work completed. And that's what was told to us. And when he presented the last time, when he came here, he had like, we never spoke about that. And so again, I think that's the piece that we need to look at in the contract, because even when the boilers were 40 or 50 years ago, a teacher could go into there and click a switch and turn the heat off or turn the heat on with steam in their classroom. Okay, so there was no way that we would go into a $4 million contract and that our staff would not be able to adjust that heat or have access to adjusting the heat in the classroom. That was, and although they may have gone into it when they got into it, they may have seen that it was more needed because they were finding things, but they don't have the right to remove that from what they promised us and what was supposed to initially be in the contract, because that was a major issue at the forefront when we were going through the boilers and what we were doing with our boilers. Yes, Treasurer Creighton at that time addressed it too. So I would get with you, Chairman Bradley, so I could bring you up to speed on some of the things that I may have known to transition over to you for your leadership, if that's okay.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then I have a few questions myself. We going back to security cameras. How long will the if either one of you all know, how long will the video stay in storage or for those security cameras? How long?
For the new system, they're backed up to the cloud. So supposedly
30 days unless you actually pull it out and save it.
Okay.
And that's 30 days of constant recording. Our current one has two settings: constant, which eats up a ton of space, or when the camera sees movement, which it's off until it sees movement. That's how the system we have in the high school currently is set up. We have 30 days of constant 24/7. Unless something happens, you need to pull it out, you archive it, and it's there forever.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to add is, well, it came up yesterday when I was at the baseball game, is I know they're doing construction, but depending on the progress, some people wanted to know if they still could find a way, like when they're not doing construction, if it's safe to do so. Because I looked out there and I saw when I drove past there, they wanted to open it up for community walking, maybe not the whole day. So it's still not safe to do it for community walking.
The construction company, I actually just specifically asked them that question. Not about the community stuff, but for students, and because it's a track season, and yeah. But I asked them that question specifically. Can anyone still use the track? Just it's asphalt. And they said no.
Oh, wow.
Chairman,
yeah,
I just don't understand why anybody would even touch it until it's done. There should be, it's not safe.
Oh, wow.
Anyhow, because it's not finished, you're saying you gotta do the drainage.
They could trip in the drainage stuff,
Yeah, no
yeah.
one should be able to go on that. That thing needs to be secured. It should not be available to the community or to the public until it is finished. And we had the grand opening to show them that it is done.
Okay. And then the other thing with the vacant buildings, I heard you say with a lot of people were doing illegal dumping. We have that new program, the Beautify Benton Harbor. Probably we can link up with the city and the township to probably see if we can work with them and partner up with them to put in cameras, so in that way we can curb down that illegal dumping. Because I know Director McGinnis, he was talking about that. Then the other thing with the cleaning out the buildings, looking to see if we can get volunteers and even the summer youth jobs to go in if it's safe to, because I know there's probably a lot of curriculum materials and things left over that we can salvage out of those buildings. And then the other thing, because I think I briefly touched on it with our Director of Student Support Service, and I will speak to you on that as well, setting up or establishing a checklist for our athletic facilities and other facilities. So before there's a game, you all can kind of have a checklist of saying, okay, do we have this? Do we have that? Because we don't want to have people coming from out of the area and they say, oh, that's just Benton Harbor. That's just how they do. So, kind of making sure everything is beautified.
Could you have any examples of what would be on the checklist?
Making sure the concession stand is clean, the grass and leaves are picked up, making sure that everything is beautified, because the bathroom areas, the bleachers and all that type of thing, that kind of stuff on there. So then that way, when it's time for the game, everything is ready to go.
Done. Okay.
Yeah. And also, can you I don't know if it would be safe, but if I can get a tour of the boiler room.
Yeah.
I would like a tour of the boiler room in the next couple of weeks. I'll let y'all know my schedule.
Right
if
on.
any other board member wants to go down there too. Okay, so we can get that on the schedule.
Let me know when. I'm here Monday through Friday.
Yeah. And we're gonna go into finance, Dr. Butts.
Okay, in your package, you should have the financial summary. So when you look at it, the revenues and expenses are 68 and 58% for the fiscal year, which means we are 68% through the fiscal year, but 58% of the money spent. The revenue is expected to be more than originally budgeted for the fiscal year. So far we've received 68% of that, but we've only used 58%. State aid is paid in October after count date, and then monthly on the 20th from November 2024 through August of 2025. The revenue is recognized as items are expended. So once we spend the money, we draw it back down from the federal revenue, and it runs concurrently with the amount of expenditures. The capital outlay is higher compared to this time last year due to the large payments for the boiler work. The vendor payment report shows the detail by vendor and fund summary for staff report F1. The year-to-date revenues are down compared to last year in February, specifically federal revenue due to ESSER fund ending. So when you see those numbers down, it's because we no longer are recognizing ESSER funds. The year-to-date expenses are up compared to last year due to our final ESSER purchases. And you'll see these large payments on the check register for Andy Egan, Youth Solutions, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Centric Learning, the Field Turf, which is for the track, Communities in School, Mesa, which is our insurance, and Taher, which is our food provider. On the budget to actual summary, you see the revenues for local, state, federal, incoming and transferring students, and the fund modification. You'll see the expenditures on that one. So that's just a total of budget to actuals, which is year to date in your report. On the next one, your budget to actual detail. Increase that a little bit. You'll see the revised budget and the actual year to date from the total revenues we received was 34 million. Actual year to date, we've received 23 million of that. And the net revenue that you'll see at the very bottom. So you see the total expenses and total revenue. So the net revenue right now is $3 million. Let's put it up there. Each of these codes, you will see where the expenditures are coming from. The next report you have is your vendor payment report. So it just goes through all 17 pages, goes through the different vendors that we pay per month. And I'll just remind the board that I am doing this in the absence of our finance director who's out this week. On the year-to-date revenue comparisons, if you're looking at year-to-date actual from 7/1 to 2/28/25, you see that in the blue for the local revenues and the prior year to date. So the total revenues that we have from year to date, if you look all the way at the end, the dollar change is a negative $1,636,109. $1,636,199. So that's a difference in the revenue that you'll see coming in due to changes in state funding and allocations. And the next one, you'll see the year-to-date expenses on these. So as you'll see, we're slightly down, slightly up from last year. Last year, our expenses were at 19 million, but again, we're accounting for the differences with the one-time purchases that were with the ending ESSER funds. Statement of revenue and expense by fund. This is the size of this one. Again, you'll see the total revenues, where they come from, the local revenues, the state sources, federal sources, and intra-district sources that we get, like through the ISD for our special needs. You see our expenses for instructions, supporting services, community services, capital outlay, debt services, principal payments, interest payments. So you see nothing on principal or interest payments because we have no loans or outstanding debts. So our total expenses that you'll see on this one and the fund balancing at the end of this period, the actual is all the way to the end, to the right of the document, $34,662,504. Those balances will change as we go through the year. As noted earlier, we've received 68% of our funds, but we've only spent 58%, so that number is expected to go up. And the statement of financial position. When you look at this, you look at our assets and liabilities. So when you look at total liabilities and fund balance, we have a positive fund balance when you look at between the liabilities and the assets. So we are doing very well in that area. The staff report I thought was on here is not on here for, let me check.
Is it F1?
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda. Let me go back and see.
Yeah.
So the staff report, thank you.
You don't have to read the whole staff report, but you can just notate the dollar amount that you'll be presenting in the upcoming meeting.
Thank you, Madam President. So the total staff report, again, for the upcoming meeting will be $1,042,144.12.
Okay, and for the sake of time, it's now 9:03 p.m. Unless there's any burning, pressing questions, we'll take those. And if others can email Dr. Carter and Dr. Buss their questions to allow us to continue to go. We still have an HR committee meeting and Dr. Buss updates. So Bradley, you can have the floor.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes, Treasurer Bradley, do you know of anything? I've been asking for a few months and I haven't gotten anything on the Hobart funds.
I did see your question, but I will follow up with Director Rock Carter and Dr. Butts.
Okay, is there? Okay. Thank you.
All right. You have the floor, Madam President.
All right, so thank you, Vice President Bradley, for leading us through the Treasurer Bradley, for leading us so graciously through the Facilities and the Finance Operations Committee portion of this meeting. As stated, my question regarding the boiler was because of my absence. I do see that the conversation continued, but I hope that I was not the cause of that. I just wanted to have some clarity for myself and did not get a chance to glance fully through the full minutes to see what was actually discussed. So thank you all for your patience in allowing me to bring that conversation back to the table. We'll proceed with the Human Resources Committee. And I'll pass the floor to Vice President Bowens. They do have a very concise agenda today, so I think we can move through this rather quickly. And then we'll proceed with actually taking the votes as suggested by Director McDermott.
Thank you, Madam President. The HR meeting, we met and we discussed our pending hire of for our TNT STEM at Fairplain Middle School. We also discussed the informed K-12 contracts. That is like how we will be doing contracts with our staff and everything. We discussed the Benton Harbor Area School partnerships, such as, we are focusing on the mind, body, and spirit. So partnering with the YMCA, hoping that our staff will get a discount for membership. Or partnering with United Federal Credit Union, if you open up a bank account you get certain deals that they offer. We currently have some pending partnerships with the auto repair companies and also used in new car sales. So, you can get a discount. So we're trying to really focus and everything of that nature, the mind, body, and spirit of our staff. The other thing that we discussed is the Benton Harbor Area School recruitment and retention strategy on how are we recruiting staff and retaining staff and making sure that we're taking care of the staff that we have. The district right sizing conversations, we're aiming for there, so, disregard that.
Okay, so I think that it notates a certain day, but I'm not sure if that's still a target date.
No,
for you.
that's not a target date. The board still has to have a discussion.
Correct.
With each other, the finance committee, and I believe that you guys all met with Director Carter on the options, but we haven't had a real moment to visualize what we want to see in the district.
Okay, so if we could have that struck in real time, I would hate for that to be considered to be a hard deadline, and there's a lot of misinformation that tends to go out. So if that is no longer an actual date, then that needs to be reflected in the record accordingly. Dr. Butts, I know that there was some information that I was able to get from you and Clark Hill today. If you want to jump in and kind of provide that quick clarification, and then to the board, this information is coming via email directly from our council.
So with that being said, we are looking at the staff, and part of my comments tonight was that what I did was instructed all principals to go through their buildings and come up with what the cuts that they see that they need from their buildings, or trim their buildings, if you would, for what we would need for the budget. They did a great job on that. And if there are any persons, if there's any administrative staff or teacher staff governed by their contract and governed by the fact that we are restructuring due to the structural, making sure that we don't have a structural deficit, meaning that we're not spending more than we're bringing in. According to their contract, it's not subject to 1229 state law of Michigan, which means that we go by their contract. So in layman's term, if there's anyone to be laid off, according to, if we go by according to your contract. Your contract specifies whether it's 60 days or 30 days notice that needs to be given. So there is no hard deadline that we have as of yet. We still have more conversations to be had. We will be sharing out with smaller committees to get a consensus, as we did before, of what the principals have come up with for their individual buildings, so that we can get feedback and come up with a comprehensive plan to present to the board.
Thank you. Trustee Gavin?
Thank you. Okay, so just going back to the finance report, we have $34 million. And it says here, April 7th is the date that you were looking to provide notice to staff that they would not be returning for the 2025-2026 school year due to budget cuts, correct?
That was on there before I actually noticed that was on there. During that meeting, I was actually at an appointment, so I'll defer that to Director McDermott.
Thank you. I believe prior to I can't remember the exact month, but there was a proposal, I think, given to board members as part of a conversation for what right sizing could look like for the 25-26 school year. So the date was a soft date communicated to the committee with the emphasis on, I know Dr. Butts mentioned per individual contracts, there are certain timeframes when someone should be notified. I wanted to go above and beyond to know that if someone contract says 30 days, out of a courtesy, I would like to know sooner than later. If a decision was made that we could notify individuals 60 days, 90 days in advance, I think even how we handle separation speaks a lot to the character of our district. So that was just a soft date into the committee to say, if a decision is made, I would like to communicate that. Most likely I would be the department communicating that. I would like to communicate it sooner than later. So that was not a hard deadline. That was assuming the board had seen proposals and was going to make a decision. I know that has changed since, so that is not a hard deadline.
Thank you. I just find it very interesting that we're sitting here at the board meeting. Everybody had an opportunity to review this document. And it says that they'll be notifying staff April 7th. And I'm just wondering, had President Robinson not said anything, would we be sitting here as a board and there's this proposal that supposedly went out to the board members, and then the staff will be notified that they will no longer be returning? And would it then seem as if we were okay with that? And so let's be clear. There was a proposal that went to a set of board members on one day, and then there was a second proposal that went to another set of board members on another day. And then whatever those two propositions were, that was not sent back to the first set of board members. And if you all are confused, then you can imagine how we feel. And so what I would think is that if there was going to be a notice to staff that they would not be returning, then whatever that final proposal was, it should have been presented to us now. And so that there is no misinformation, out of transparency, that proposal should be made available to the public. If we're talking about, we heard so many people talk about saving somebody's job, and right now we're talking about laying off a number of people. And I find it hard to believe that the principals want to fire the people in their building or lay off the people in the building. I don't think that this is initiated from the principals, and I don't think it's initiated from the finances at $34 million. And so I guess my question is, roughly, since we're looking at possibly letting people go, how many people are we looking, roughly, are we looking to release from Benton Harbor Area School?
There's not an actual number, so Ms. Brock Carter and Ms. Cups went around to each building principal to get their input on their budgets for their buildings. I know there's been a lot of talk about making sure that the principals are aware and are doing what's necessary for their buildings and that they have input in their buildings. So the directive was for Ms. Brock Carter to go. Ms. Cups volunteered to go and help the principals out. Almost all, she met with all but one, the principals out to make sure that they had a clear understanding in how to do their budgets. And Ms. Brock Carter also worked with all of them to ensure that whatever they saw that they needed for their building, whatever they needed and what they did not need. So she went around and did that, and Ms. Brock Carter will be putting together a presentation to show one presentation to show to each of the smaller groups.
I guess my question is, Dr. Butts, what was the number that you originally recommended?
I did not originally recommend not one number. There were numbers that we came up as a whole in the cabinet.
Okay, what was that number, please?
I don't have that in front of me. I will have to go back and pull those proposals up.
An estimate number of?
I don't like to give estimates because it'll be held against me.
And do we know what day then? So if it's April 7th is now crossed out, what is the timeline for us receiving a proposal that the community knows about, that the staff knows about, and that we have an opportunity to consider before everybody is notified, you may not have a job here? I think that, like, what is the timeline for that?
Ms. Brock Carter is out this week. We will start our meetings next week with the board members to get your consensus.
Will the board be notified as a whole before the staff is notified.
Yes, that is standard protocol. Yes, ma'am. The board has to approve anything before I can notify staff.
I guess I'm just wondering, and I'll stop, but I guess I'm wondering if it's standard protocol, why did it make it to this sheet today that they will be notified April 7th?
Mr. McDermott, would you like to speak to that, please?
To clarify once again, this was the agenda that was presented on March 11th. So at that time, to my knowledge, there was a discussion. Information was being presented to board members as proposals for feedback. Once again, that was not a hard deadline. That was assuming between March 11th and possibly today's board meeting, something would have been decided on. This was a communication to our HR committee, assuming that any change would have been approved. From an internal standpoint, we wanted to be proactive and notify staff. So that was a deadline for us internally to notify staff.
This is my last question. Dr. Butts, do you recall when we were in the meeting and I asked the question, if we did not lay off any staff, what would be our fund balance? Do you remember what that dollar amount was, or if it was close to $8 million next year? We
So-
would still have 8 million if we did not lay off our staff
That doesn't
after
sound-
all expenses.
That doesn't sound correct to me. If we don't lay off staff, if I'm not mistaken, our fund balance should be around approximately 19 million. That's the fund balance. But that doesn't
19
mean that we'll be structurally balanced, which means we'll still be spending more than what we're bringing in, dipping into the piggy bank, if you would.
But we would have a $19 million piggy bank.
Yes, you would.
Okay, thank you.
Secretary Triplett. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Sorry. Thank
Um,
you.
Secretary Triplett, please.
Yes, when I'm looking at this, I've been asking for some time why our principals did not run their budget. Why weren't they ever in charge of their budget? That's number one. When Molly was here, that was allegedly supposed to be a goal. How can the director of finance go into these buildings and talk to principals, and they identify what roles they need to cut and not know what this is based upon? When you're talking about cuts, you must first and foremost base this on data as a projection as how many students we are going to have. When we're talking about cuts, we have to be clear on, when we look at our staff, we have so many vacancies. And so I guess when the finance director and the director of curriculum went, did they go in there and say, you are going to have to cut 2 teachers, you are going to have to cut, you are losing $150,000 from your safe and supportive schools, those individuals who are funded out of this category. We're expecting a cut in this amount of funding. So this is what you have to cut, and how do you want to do this? I'm just concerned, seriously, because what happens over and over and over again, and historically with our district, is that our staff is starting to be made afraid for no reason, and the work has not been done. And so this is when it comes to the public, where it appears, and we hear this all the time, the board. And because these things are not in place, this is something from the finance department to each one of these buildings based on projected enrollment and the data that we have right now. Not that the this administration is getting ready to cut out Title I and we're gonna do this and all. That's not the way you operate. I'm just being honest. And so it concerns me because it's a lot of work. And then they have to go back and come back and go back and come back and let us know what this is. And so, again, to see this stuff, somebody, a deadline for the 7th of April, cut, they haven't even had the opportunity to do their due diligence. There are several sources of funding. There's a special education source of funding where we have several vacancies without certified teachers. There is, we have several vacancies based on the data given to us that we have vacancies in these buildings where we have teachers in training and where we have long-term substitute teachers in there. So no one that's certified or those things should even be threatened, even approached in that manner. So I guess I would say, Chairman Bowen, and to Dr. Butler, what have you, like to have a conversation in that to discuss how much, like say for instance, you Benton Harbor High School, you have 2.3 teachers must be removed. How does that look? You have, like I said, this is how much money comes from, because each one of these schools have funding sources. It has 31A money. It has Title I money. It has Title IX money. And many of these people have been asking the board, or asking at this table, when we're talking about cutting individuals, what is the funding source for these people? Have we looked at specifically who is actually being paid out of our general fund? That's the key. And then that determines whether or not we have a deficit, or if we're going into our fund balance, if we're going into our extra, and we have to, that's one of the components. It's a very important component. So we need to know those things. And it is not to sit up in here trying to compare, none of that. But there are some things, questions that need to be asked, and we have been asking. Of course, sometimes this is not new. So I don't know where we are at our meeting, Madam President, next week. If there's things to be voted on, I think it's premature. And the Board of Education, the thing that we need to know tonight, from if the Human Resource Department can let us know based on contract, Dr. Butts, you can let us know who have to have 90-day notice, who have to have 60-day notice, and who have to have 30-day notice, and who's at will. And are we going to be able to meet those deadlines? And that's the thing that we need to know. I don't need a response tonight because I don't think that you guys are just completely prepared. Okay, what positions? You said you compared.
Oh, not for positions, for the deadlines, if you were asking about.
Yeah, so like say for instance, the administrator, do they have to have 60 or do they have to have 30 days?
It depends on their contract.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Do you have a question?
So I would just like to remind the board that in the previous budget discussion that Director Brock Carter gave us, she pre-messaged to us the reason that we were having the discussion. For the 2024-2025 school year, we had $34.6 million in revenue. For 2025-2026, with anticipated changes, the estimated revenues are $18.3 million. That's a difference in $16.3 million of revenue. We also have to keep in fact out of that we had one-time expenses for this year, such as the track and things of that nature that were $10.6 million. So in order to make sure that our revenues match our expenses for the school year, we have to it was suggested that we try to look for ways to save in an amount of $5.7 million. And so I know that often when you hear that it will have, $18.3 million in revenue and we have this amount of money in a fund balance, it feels as though it is a completely comfortable position. But what I am strongly suggesting that you all, and I'm all for doing this process the way that it needs to be done integrally and taking our time. That's why I asked the attorneys about the deadlines, because I want to make sure that the plan that is presented to the Board of Education is one that a majority will support. But we cannot afford as a district to move as if we are secure in an $18 million fund balance, because as we've seen, each time we approach a project, we come back, it might be $100,000 here, 200,000 additional dollars here, a court with the plumbing bust out of nowhere. And that's something that we have to try to accommodate or determine whether or not there's going to be insurance to coverage. So sometimes we have things that we can budget out, and sometimes we have unexpected expenses. I came into this district where we were in the red and we were in a deficit. And so I know that we are strongly, and I know you all have been in that position, experiencing cuts as teachers and things of that nature. But in the last few years, we've been able to increase, our teacher salaries and give incentives and bonuses and things like that. We've been blessed to have some opportunities to do some things. And I would prefer that the district is able to do that. I know the concept or the conversation of making budget cuts is one that is difficult, but I am strongly suggesting that this board not put his heels in the sand on the conversation of making potential right sizing cuts or things organizational and structurally, so that we can make sure that we not only have a positive balance currently, but we secure the future of the district moving forward financially. And this is not only advisement that we've received from our director of finance, it's advisement that we've received from Superintendent Rice in previous meetings of that. So I'm not trying to say that there should not be a process. I'm not saying that we should not be ensuring that staff are not afraid or pre-messaged too far in advance. That is why I've asked that the attorneys give us in writing the guidance of what that timeline is, so that we know how quickly we have to make these decisions to be within the guidelines of those contracts. But I'm just asking that you all are open and that you're innovative and that we support each other in this work, because it's work that has to be done. And alongside with this master facilities plan and these buildings that we have to get together in the season that we are in, we need to be in a position we are making good and wise choices fiscally. And so I can't, I have to say that as the president, you all don't have to agree with me. You can be concerned and look, but I have to have it documented on the record how I feel as the president, and advise you all wisely. Whether or not you choose to take my counsel or not, it's completely up to you, because we know there's been moments where you haven't.
Thank you so much,
Vice
Madam
President
President.
Bowens.
We're gonna expedite and go to staff report H2.
You have H1,
But-
actually.
Sorry, H1, I didn't. Staff report H1.
Thank you. Separation of employment, a reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140 and 4140, resignation of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personal leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. Separation by ways of resignation, we have Darshell Clark from the position of MTSS Specialist at Discovery Enrichment Center, followed by Melody Cardenas from the position of Instructional Facilitator here at Central Administration. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Thank you.
Is there, I'll proceed. You're okay. Is there a motion, and I'm sorry for the candy noise in the mic, my apologies. Is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
So move. Support.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Bradley and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns from the floor? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Staff report H2, please.
Yes. Staff report H2, employment of staff, submitted for board consideration to approve the employment of staff in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis, is recommended that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation for the hire of the following personnel. Policy reference 3120, 4120, employment of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personnel leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to employ student outcomes. Today, for hire, we have Kelly Ganatki for TNT, Teacher in Training, STEM at Fairplain Middle School. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H2?
Madam President, I make a motion to approve staff report H2.
All right, the motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns regarding staff report H2? You have the floor.
I would just say that when you look at her resume, it's very extensive. I like that business education instructor. I wish we had that at the high school, you know.
Vice
here.
President Bowens, you don't want to say too many details about the experience,
Well,
but you're impressed with the resume.
thank you. Thank you. When you look at her resume, it's very extensive, and I wish we had something like that at the high school. And look forward to welcoming her to our district.
Any other questions or comments?
Real quick.
Do you have a concern, Secretary Triplett?
I really do, but I'm gonna keep it to myself. I really, honestly, I do. I have a concern, but I'm gonna keep it to myself, Madam President, so we can move forward with business.
I just did not want, so the thing about it is the resumes are not privy to the public, so I didn't, oh, you wasn't about that, okay, okay. Trustee Gavin.
Just a quick question. I'm grateful for our head coach. I was just wondering, does that not come across our board table? Does that position not?
I did ask that, and that is because it does not, because it is a edu staff position. So it's like a stipend?
Yes, coaches receive a stipend.
Stipend.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, correct.
Was that question about the funding source?
No, that was a question about,
It was about the report.
a coach's
not
name not being
including
listed, yeah.
Other new hire.
Oh, okay. Any other questions pertaining to staff report H2?
Yeah, I'm gonna be quick about it. That was a question of mine because I don't remember when that shifted or what have you, but coaches, in particular, head coaches of at this high school was recommended to the superintendent. The superintendent brought it to the Board of Education. And so these are very, very serious positions. And so I think that's something that we need to check in. I don't know when that shifted. Right. After you.
So.
Okay. All right, I got it.
I would like to remind the board and the public that we can't just, I appreciate the clarification provided, Your Honor. We'd like to recognize his presence this evening. He's been here quite a bit of time, but I didn't find the opportunity to recognize Mayor Marcus Muhammad. He was providing clarification from the floor that it was during his tenure as a coach that shift, prior to him becoming a coach, that the shift occurred, correct? Trustee Gavin.
I'm sorry. So we approve third-party hirings for other schools, but we don't approve staff hirings for our school?
Correct.
Is that a new thing? Is that the way it's always been?
So it's been that way. I know that we received clarification previously from Clark Hill about that, and this was when Treasurer Creighton was on the board. But I can't remember the exact time frame because they're staff employees. We don't control the hiring of the staff employees, but I do think we control the hiring of the creation of the position.
Yes, the creation and or the elimination of.
So we control the creation of the positions, but if there are positions that are outsourced, then because staff is technically their employee, the Board of Education does not vote.
And the board outsourced athletics.
Athletics is a part of staff, correct?
Wow. Wow.
All of the coaches the majority of the coaches are paid through staff. They're not Benton Harbor Area Schools employees. Like the cheerleading coach, she's not a Benton Harbor Area Schools employee. Those are staff positions.
Well, I'm so glad that we do write the policy as the Board of Education, and we can make the necessary adjustments and recommendations. Thank you so much, Madam President.
Thank you.
All
I'll
right.
call for the vote, Madam President.
Okay, so we, as a reminder, we are on staff report H2.
3.
Wait, are we on H3?
Yes.
We're on 2. I was correct. It's okay. All right, so the motion was made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for staff report H2?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, staff report H3.
Employment of staff submitted for board consideration to approve the employment of staff in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis under section 1120 of Title I, Part A requires a participating local educational agency to provide eligible students attending private elementary and secondary schools, their teachers and their families with Title I services or other benefits that are equitable to those provided to eligible public school children, their teachers and their families. Policy reference 2261, Title I Services, and 3120/4120, Employment of Professional and Support Staff. Strategic Plan Goal reference, personnel leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. Today, we have Laretha Lewis in the position of paraprofessional at River of Life Schools. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report
Madam
H3?
President, I make a motion that we approve staff report H3.
Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Treasurer Bradley. Any questions, comments, and concerns? Hearing none from the floor, Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you to the board again for allowing Director McDermott with the support of Vice President Bowens with allowing the votes tonight so that we can make those adjustments to human resources as needed. I wish a warm welcome to those that are new to Benton Harbor Area Schools, and I wish those who are choosing to resign the best. So we're gonna move swiftly to superintendent topics. First up, we have strategic plan update. I know that is in the packet. Dr. Buss, is there anything pressing in your update that you need to provide tonight?
No, ma'am.
Okay, up next is the master's facility plan. Can you give us a brief update regarding that? I know that you're planning to have an adjusted timeline for us available at our next meeting, and I am holding you to that deadline. Anything pertinent to the master's facilities plan update that you would like to provide?
I'm scared now.
No, go
No,
forward.
no, ma'am. No, that was it. I'll make sure I have your timeline and your adjusted calendar at the regular board meeting.
Say you're scared.
I'll just pick it with you.
Okay, there's not many things that I choose to be a stickler about at the table, but that one I cannot allow us to go any
completely
additional time without having some clarity as to where we stand on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, under old business, we do not have anything particular under old business. However, I would like to notate that we have some policies that will be coming before the floor. This is the first time that we've had policy changes. This many policy changes that are within this new committee structure. So the policy committee is trying to determine the best way to go through those. Ms. Singer, do you remember off top about how many there were? About 25 to 30 policies. So I'm trying to frame the best way, I know, to reflect those, to get those updated with the board. More than likely, what I anticipate is that the policy committee will more, and I have not shared this with my counterparts, but I think it would be in our best interest to have our own meeting of the three of us in public with the documents printed so we can go through everything ourselves. And then once we have gone through and determined what it is that what concerns or questions or clarifications we need, we'll be better equipped to come before the full board. And we may have to have a policy meeting in itself to get all of that done, or chop it down and do so many at a time, but we have quite a heavy load. So I wanted to pre-message that to the board so that you all are aware that that is great work that's coming ahead.
Madam President?
Yes.
Can our, according to our policy, when we talk about our policy, can we have those sent out and do the reading, our reading can be independent?
Everyone can have access to so the thing is, everyone can be sent the policies in advance so that you can do your homework, which will happen. But then we still have to do 2 meetings where we sit and read them before. Yes, sir.
So I did speak with Chris Rice from Neola. He did say it's up to the board to change the policy to a 1 read instead of a 2 read. So the board has that flexibility.
So the board has the flexibility to only require one read, and I do think we received that clarification before that we could do that. I strongly suggested that we not, because the changes that we're making are changes that will impact the board indefinitely. And I know sometimes, given our heavy schedules, some of us may not be able to go in and do the homework. And so I don't feel as comfortable with us coming into one meeting and taking a read, not having confirmation that everyone has had an opportunity to review them. However, it is the will and liberty of the board if that is a change that you would like to make. And that can be part of a future conversation. I guess that can be a policy we can review. If you all, Dr. Buss, if you can send me that particular policy that we have that notates 2 reads are required, we can have a discussion as to whether the board wants to change that policy or not. That can be part of the work we do.
I think it'd be good for the policy committee to discuss first and meet
Okay.
before we do anything like that.
But we will send those policies out. Ms. Singer, if you can get those out this week to the board, give them an overwhelming amount of time to go through each of those. And then that way, when we come back, everyone will have ample time to have reviewed those.
Would that be considered the first read?
I need you to speak in the mic.
Could that be considered the first read if we?
Not from home, no.
Okay.
It has to be before the public, so it's record of it. All right, new business. I have nothing remaining for new business. Up next, we have open public comment. Is there anyone here for open public comment at this time? All right, I guess that's because everybody took the time to speak earlier today on items that weren't on the agenda. Up next, we have superintendent announcements and comments. Dr. Bud.
So I think I addressed this earlier. The principals were involved in the budgeting process. We'll have small group meetings with board members as did previously to gauge thoughts. We're planning to have a theme each month for the remainder of the school year for recruitment and retention and enrollment, focusing on students in the different schools with the different commercials and highlights of different schools. We'll be updating the recruitment and retention plan as noted. Again, I'll be getting in touch with C2AE for the master facilities plan, updated calendar. So that part of my comments is that's all I have for that part.
Okay.
So I do have a second part to my comments I'd like to read to the board, if you would. Dear esteemed board, with much reflection, I have decided to conclude my service with the Benton Harbor Area School District and will not be seeking a contract renewal. I am profoundly thankful for the 3 years I have spent working alongside you to advance the district. We have achieved significant milestones, and I'm certain the district will continue to thrive. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the board, students, faculty, staff, and community for allowing me to lead and shepherd during both prosperous and challenging times. The lessons learned here have been indelible and enlightening as I consider my next professional chapter. I am resigning my position of superintendent as of June 30th, 2025.
All right, so as it stands, Dr. Butts has provided a resignation as of June 30th, 2025. And I have officially received this in writing as well. So at this particular time, I would ask if the board would prefer to give feedback to the statement provided, or there could be an amendment made to the agenda to allow for a vote to accept his resignation, but I'm more than welcome to allow conversation prior.
I say we make an amendment to take a vote on it.
Is that a motion?
I make a motion that we amend the agenda to take a vote to accept the superintendent's resignation.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Bradley and supported by Trustee Gavin that we amend the agenda to allow for a vote to accept the superintendent's resignation as of June 30th, 2025. And again, this is just to allow for the amendment of the agenda. It's not the actual vote to accept. Any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the amendment? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for amendment of the agenda?
President Robinson,
No.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
No?
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, so the motion has passed to allow us to amend the agenda to allow for a vote to accept the resignation of the superintendent of schools, Dr. Kelvin Butts, as of June 30th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a motion to accept the resignation as noted?
So move.
Is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by Trustee Doyle and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns from the board at this time? Trustee Rocket Martin.
Dr. Buzz, I hate that you did that. You were an excellent superintendent. I've worked under many superintendents, and I must say you are one of the best. I hate to see you go, but I do wish you well in your coming endeavors. And it is a great loss. I want to make that really clear. It is a great loss to our district. It is the stability. It is you were the anchor that we needed for such a time as this. And I'm sorry to see you go, but I do wish you well. And I understand, because when you take the kind of abuse that you've been taking, I understand. So good luck to you, and thank you for the integrity, the character that you've shown at the table. I appreciate that. And you have been an example of what professionalism looks like. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Madam
Secretary, we'll go to Treasurer Bradley and then Secretary Triplett. And I would like if everyone could have an opportunity to speak. If you prefer not to, that's perfectly understandable. So we'll go to Treasurer Bradley.
I would say that I am not happy. But I understand that, business has to be taken care of. Being on this board, first term 4 years, so going on 5 years doing this work. You see a lot of changes come and go. I've worked under 4 superintendents now. One interim at the time. And there's work to be done. And whenever you have a leadership change at the top, it trickles down. Whether it be at the board level, at the superintendent level, it trickles down back into the academics and everything else. And it's unfortunate that, some can't see that will hurt us. Instead of working to fix what is wrong or looking into the goals that we have to put in place in order for things to work, we have to have stability. In order for us to grow, in order for us to build new buildings, pass bonds, you have to have stable leadership. And that's my whole thing. So Dr. Butts, whatever the outcome of this next vote is, we thank you for your service. I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. If I have concerns or if I have ideas, you're quick to do that. You have an awesome team behind you working with you in order to get things done. And people have to understand that things are not a sprint. Everything can't be done quickly. Things are a marathon. Things take time. Change takes time. And so Thank you, sir, for the sacrifices that you've done. And it's very appreciated.
All right, Secretary Triplett, I believe your hand was raised.
Yes, Dr. Bus, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you myself. I remember when we were going through our transition, you were a principal at Fairplain Junior High. And you sent us an email and you said, I have the credential. And we were in the process of our previous superintendent getting ready to transition. And I just like to take this opportunity to thank you for stepping in and for leading us during that transitional period. I appreciate, everything that you've done. And I too would like to, say that sometimes it's important to know when and what it is that we must do, and most importantly for ourselves. I would like to take this opportunity to wish you the very, very best. I think you are an amazing person. And I can sit here and say it just hilarious, in there. And I just want to tell you thank you. And I'm glad I had an opportunity to meet you and work with you in this season. Thank you so very much.
Any other, trustee Gavin?
I prefer to write my thank yous. I like to think through what I want to say. I want to thank you for your service, Dr. Butts. I don't believe that there was any abuse. I think that's a little dramatic. I think that we all have a role and a responsibility to hold each other and ourselves accountable to our students and our families and our community. And I want to thank you for your service. I will take some time to reflect on the things that I am grateful for, and I will put that in writing to you. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Vice President Bowen?
I wrote a statement. Is it okay if I read it, Madam President?
Sure.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am proud to set before you to highlight the incredible progress we have made as a community with Benton Harbor area schools. Our journey has been marked by resilience, determination, and a shared vision for a brighter future. Together with you, Dr. Butts, we have accomplished so much. It's essential that we celebrate these achievements by looking ahead to the opportunities that await us. First and foremost, let's acknowledge the remarkable increase in our student academic scores. This progress is a testament to the hard work of our educators, the dedication of our students, and the unwavering support of our families. We are not just raising numbers, we are raising aspirations and nurturing a love for learning that will carry our students far beyond the classroom. We have forged important partnerships that are transforming our district. Our recent strides in the partnership agreement. We have made tremendous progress, from the installation of a new gym floor to the track field to the boiler replacement. These developments are crucial for fostering a healthy lifestyle, encouraging teamwork among our students. In addition to enhancing our facilities, we're bringing back driver's ed, a significant step in ensuring that our students have the skills and opportunities they need to succeed on the road ahead in life. Access to education is vital, and we are committed to providing our students with every advantage possible. Our commitment to literacy has led the establishment of small libraries in classrooms, further enriching their learning environment and encouraging a culture of reading. With these resources, we are bringing the district back to a place where every child can explore the world through stories and knowledge. Moreover, we are expanding our horizons for our students with the Black College Tour, giving them experiencing and open doors and opportunities that many of our students may have never considered, allowing them to envision themselves in higher education and beyond. We are preparing them with the robotics competition in STEM fields and equipping them with the skills needed for the future. Excitingly, at Fairplain Junior High, the students are getting ready to go to Washington, D.C., where students will have a chance to see monuments and historical sites that they have only read about. These experiences will deepen their understanding of our nation, history, and instill a sense of pride in their heritage. I would like to highlight the expansion under your leadership of our alternative learning program, CAPE. This program has the potential to be a game changer for our community, offering tailored educational opportunities that meet the diverse needs of our students with the right support. We can ensure that every student has a pathway to success. As I reflect on the progress, I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to you. Dr. Butts, I am forever grateful for your leadership during this crucial transitional period. When we needed a steady hand, you stepped up and guided us with integrity and vision. Your dedication to our mission has made a lasting impact on our community, and I thank you for all that you have done. To the community and the board, let us embrace this moment of transition as a chance to reflect our accomplishments and dream about the future. The resolve of Benton Harbor area schools is stronger than ever, and I believe that together we will continue to build a bright and successful future for all of our students. Thank you. God bless Benton Harbor.
Trustee Doyle, did you have any comments for this evening?
Yes, I just want to thank Dr. Buzz for his service and wish him the best.
Okay, so I will begin by saying, Dr. Butts, I am grateful to you. You came in as a principal. You went through the rough and the thick in Fair Plain Middle School. And in the position when we needed a superintendent, you stepped up to the challenge. I feel as though you have been a fighter through this entire time. You have withstood concerns from the public, personal vendettas of nature of sorts that I would indicate. You received positive feedback from the Board of Education, but sometimes often the voices of the public have rang stronger than the positive feedback from the Board of Education as it relates to social media and things of that nature. You've been here through moments of board turmoil and recalls, stayed focused on the work. And so I just want you to know that I am not at all happy about the resignation. And I know that you are fully aware of that. I feel as though you were brought here for a season. You have served us graciously through that season. We've seen phenomenal changes with the partnership agreement, improvement in our academics, despite what some may say. And so I just want to thank you again for your efforts and your support. And being willing to be a team player with the Board of Education and going through changes with your staff as well. And so I look forward to the remainder and the duration of your contract through June 30th, because we are still a governance team. And so I am still committed to doing the work with you throughout the remainder of this school year to ensure that you are able to have a strong and ethical closeout and transition, one that puts the students in the best interest, puts the students at your best interest with moving forward. So I thank you. I'm saddened by the resignation, of course, but I thank you for your time and I wish you the best with your future career. And I look forward to seeing what district you may pop up in next. So with that being said, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for the acceptance of the resignation of the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Kelvin Butts, as of June 30th, 2025?
President Robinson,
No.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Bradley,
No.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
No.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Madam President, the motion passes.
All right, we wish you the best, Dr. Butts. We still have board member announcements and comments. So everyone has made a comment as it relates to Dr. Butts and his resignation provided, but you all still have a window of time to give a general comment. And it is 9:59, so I think our closing time was standard 10 o'clock. Is that right, Trustee Gavin?
Yes.
So we didn't do too bad. I'm glad that I removed the training because we would be here for another hour. So Trustee Gavin, you can start us off.
I really want to thank everybody for coming out. I am a person who appreciates hearing all sides. And I'm also a person who hears the voice of the voiceless, the ones who didn't come out. And I take all of that in. I am hoping that we can create an environment in which everyone has a right to speak without that speech being labeled as attacking unless it's an attack. That speech is not being labeled as abusive unless it is abusive. I think that it's important to listen to the voices of the people, what they have to say, how they feel, their experience, without demeaning them, demeaning their dignity, cutting them off. And I saw that happen to Tiana today, and that concerned me. She has a right to speak. She cares about our children. And she said what she said. And so sometimes we have a tendency to say, well, both sides were wrong. No, she had a right to speak. And so I support her right to speak. And I think that, we just have to create a safe space for that. I am grateful to our staff, our employees, our students for their achievements. And I am so looking forward to what's possible for Benton Harbor area schools. We deserve the best. We deserve the best. And so I'm looking forward to that best manifesting. And I believe that the best is yet to come. I believe that we do need to reach out to our community members who are qualified and see if there's a way to get some support for transition. I think that we need to make sure that we have some type of assistant in place. So just in case Dr. Bus is not able to make it to our required meetings, so that we can ensure that we are in compliance with the partnership agreement. I'm not gonna talk much longer. I know everybody's looking at the clock like, oh, they did not put a clock on Gavin. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out. I'm just really grateful for this space. And Dr. Bus, I meant what I said. I will write a letter of gratitude. I'm just a person who prefers to think it through and give you something that you can have to review. So I'll turn it over to the rest of my colleagues. I'm just looking forward to what's possible with our community and with our staff and with our children.
Trustee Doyle,
I'll pass.
pull your mic forward, please.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Raquel Martin, and I'd ask that you pull your mic forward.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, is it my turn? I believe in calling a spade a spade. I know what I heard. I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. And I'll reiterate. I thank you, Dr. Butts, for the character you displayed when you were attacked. I thank you for the professionalism you displayed when you were attacked. And there's no other way of saying it. And some of you that sat right over at that table, you felt attacked also. So like I said, I believe in calling a spade a spade. And I know what being attacked looks like. And I can only imagine what it felt like, even when it was done to folks out there. So with that being said, I'm not going to bite my tongue because we have bills to pay because of attacks on people. So I'll leave that at that. And Dr. Butts, you have my blessing. Go with God. May he raise you up to be greater than you are. And we had perfection. I'm not going to say, I'm saying in a sense that we had somebody that knew our district, that could work with us, that tried to do what you asked him to do. and we were making the gains. Our test scores did rise. In fact, the MLK did make the gains that we were told they did not make. The state of Michigan said they did. So our district is on the road to recovery. And I'm hoping that we can keep that momentum going, and that we will always not have to look back and say, I wish we hadn't done what we did. So with that being said, thank you again. And I wish you well.
Thank you, trustee Rocket Martin. Up next, and thank you, trustee Gavin, if I didn't say thank you as well. Up next, we have treasurer Bradley.
Well, here we are again. Back to square one, cause be nice, Matt, be nice, be best, as Melania says. Here we are at square one. I'm gonna try to stay positive. First of all, let me say this. When it comes to this table and we make decisions, we can't have it two ways. Next thing is, courage is not the absence of fear. I'll make this quote. It is choosing to move forward despite it. As leaders, we often have to take leaps of faith. We step into unknowns, make unpopular decisions, and take responsibility when things go wrong. So with that being said, now we have to get ready. I'll decide if I'll be a team player and show up for the state trainings. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, to say the least, I am disappointed. Things are going in the right direction. Few people feel things aren't going in the right direction. That's all I have to say. God bless.
All right, up next, we have Secretary Triplett. And if we could please notate, Vice President Bradley is exiting as of 10:07 p.m. I know he also has to get on the road bright and early, so make sure we notate his exit. Secretary Triplett.
I am so glad that people have prayed for the spirit of containment as I have. I'm so grateful that I got to see all of those faces tonight. And it ain't no one side, I just got a chance to see all of these faces as I look around this room. I'm not a politician. I don't know anything about politics, or nothing. I serve for the Board of Education. I have no aspirations other than my entire life work. And that's for the children of Benton Harbor. I have never taken it personal. I've looked in some of your faces. I've seen you. And you've seen me. But I saw it. I didn't really know the workings behind the scene. I didn't know how things actually work in certain places and spaces because I've never been quite privy to it, because this is the first time I ran for public office. And so I was very unfamiliar with it. And so tonight, I asked God just to show me. And he did. He showed me. And so I want to say to the citizens of Benton Harbor, my number one priority is your children. I'm not connected to anybody, because guess what? They don't have any problems not being connected to me. Okay? And so I want to say that again to Dr. Butts, thank you. I have no thoughts in my mind about anything, because I was the person that put it on the table for Dr. Butts to come here. Okay. And so for me, as I close out and I look, because see, people think that you operate the way that they are. So if they think it's dirty, it might be a little dirt with them. We're not gonna always agree. And, you know, to make, I saw people come up here that had an opportunity to make a difference and they did not. I saw people come up here who worked to take children out of our district. I mean, loads and loads of children out of our district. I've seen people say, I don't have any back thoughts or anything because I never waver and I never will waver in my commitment to Benton Harbor area schools. So I don't have a story where I took this one over here, I did that, I didn't do this. I don't have any of that.
Secretary
So
Triplett, please wrap up your
I will
comment.
wrap it. I sure will. I'm going to be at everything, Dr. Bus. I am so looking forward to you closing out with the respect and dignity that you possess. Okay. And I'm looking forward to us having an amazing transition plan. I know the partnership agreement did not see how this would look for a district if a superintendent resigned. But this right here would give them another aspect of how they can continue to help districts. And so I'm not afraid about that. Because I know that we have people in place that's going to be there to support us in this transition. It's not just one person. I know Dr. Buck will attest to this because it's been amazing teachers. It's been amazing staff members that have held their feet to the iron and the grind, and they don't often get the recognition. So I want to say thank you to all of you, to every last one of you, because none of us went in those classrooms. Those test scores went up because of our teachers. All of those good things that happened to us happened for a reason. And I know we'll be able to move forward. Tiger Nation, second to none. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice
Thank you,
Vice President Bowens.
The Bible tells us in Matthew 19:14, but Jesus said, suffer little children and forbid them not to come unto me, for such is the kingdom of heaven. And when I think about that scripture, it means a lot to me. But I also understand that democracy is a bloody sport. And we may not like it. We're watching it right now. People voted for somebody, they didn't like the other candidate, and we're suffering. Some people are thriving. We have to respect. And I feel like the level of respect, if we're going to call a spade and call people out, make sure you're pulling the mote out of your own eye because it's several people watching. I also want to say to openly state you will sabotage the partnership agreement is dangerous, naive, reckless, and irresponsible. Listen to what they say, but watch what they do. 3 years ago, when Dr. Butts came as superintendent, we got the email that he had the qualifications. I was out in my car getting ready to drive off because I came to this meeting thinking of something different. Secretary Triplett told me, I won't tell you what he told me, but I got pulled in and was told I needed to come back to the table. I think we're looking at this and we have to understand that it's not personal sometimes. This is life. A contract has expired. The individual has decided not to apply for a renewal. We go on and explore the options, but one thing we're missing the point is Dr. Butts was a transitional leader. And sometimes you have to have and acknowledge that transitional leader to stabilize the ship, stabilize the school district. And he's done that. He's helped us, prepared us to be able to move to the next level. And I am excited about that next level. I am excited about what we're going to do. And I respect every single one of us, but I also ask that you respect us. Someone texted me a whole essay, and it's not about his side or her side. It's about the children of Benton Harbor side. And if we say we love the children, and if we say we care for the children, take your emotional self out and let's look at the children. We had all of these people here. And on Facebook, I watched a child get kicked in the head and dragged at the park. Not one of them said anything about that child. Not one of them mentioned about the child. What message are we sending if we say we care for the children, but they're not on our focus? Thank you, and God bless you all.
It's difficult to find words in this moment because I have a dual accountability and responsibility to be not only an individual trustee as myself, but I also hold the accountability as being the spokesman, a spokesperson of the Board of Education. And so there are often moments where, as a trustee, I would say a lot more than I would say at this particular time as president of the board. And so what I will say is, again, I am grateful for the season that we had, the leadership that we had to help us in getting the district turned around. As I voted no, it is because I wish that you were here to continue to help us in pushing the district forward. And so I am accepting at this particular time, the Board of Education's majority vote to accept your resignation because as president and as the spokesman of the board, I am required to do so. But I also want to make it fully clear that I wish that you were staying with us for another period of time. And so, as I've stated, I wish you the best in your future endeavors. I am wanting the board to be extremely flexible in its schedule moving forward because there's great work that comes ahead. Not only do we have to make sure that we're meeting our training obligations and governance team meeting dates for the partnership agreement, we have to make decisions as it relates to our financial budget. And we also have to begin conversations as to what the next superintendent of Benton Harbor area schools will be like, or who that person may be, and what the search process will potentially be like. And so I'm asking that you all, in making this decision as a Board of Education, are aware of that, because if we are not all committed to this work moving forward, there is no way that we will be able to guarantee the success of the district and ensuring that we have the best available person feasible to do this work moving forward. I would also like to note that I have expressed to you all previously that this would be my last time or last year serving as the president. And so as we are, and not this particular night, but you know, this year. So as we are discussing transitions and things of this nature, we have a transition of a superintendent where we'll have to be making a new person or selection as of July 1st. But just reminding you all that I have requested that someone else or another board member look forward in the next year to being president. And so if that is something that you are interested in, I just want to take this time as a reminder that you might want to let me know that so that we can get you all geared up to become trained on being the president of the Board of Education. And so we'll be moving in new directions as far as our leadership is concerned in the next coming years. So I appreciate you all. We want to make sure we stay focused on all of the great work that's ahead. And I thank you all for your time and your patience in our meeting tonight. So at this particular time, I'll ask, is there a motion to adjourn?
Madam President, I make a motion to, did you need?
No, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, sorry, I thought you.
All right, is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Gavin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin, Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, this meeting is adjourned as of 10:19 PM.
As well. 10:19.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine, no problem. No. Yeah. They're not the same